By noon, Lucas and Lily had managed to whip up a feast that covered the entire dining table. Emily Carter walked Sophia Thompson to the table, the two of them chatting and laughing like old friends. Lucas stared, a little dumbfounded, at how quickly his mom and his future mother-in-law had hit it off. Of course, it was a good thing for the parents to be on friendly terms. But when they got too friendly, it was usually the guy who paid the price. Lucas suddenly felt his future standing in the family was in grave danger. If Lily ever felt even slightly wronged, he'd probably be facing a two-woman tribunal. While Lucas was lost in his paranoid fantasies, Lily quietly slipped into the seat beside him. The two mothers said nothing, simply taking their seats opposite the couple with knowing smiles. Sophia let out a wry, silent sigh. Although her impression of Lucas was already as good as it could possibly be, as the mother of the bride-to-be, she couldn't help but worry about her sweet, naive girl. Lily's personality was so gentle, she'd probably let Lucas walk all over her. But now, she felt like all her worrying was pointless. This had nothing to do with him. Her own sweet girl was the one practically jumping into the lion's den. Who could you even complain to? No wonder they said you couldn't hold on to a daughter once she was grown. Go on, have a taste, Sophia said to Emily. Emily didn't stand on ceremony. She picked up her fork and took a bite. I just love Lily's cooking. Cooking was a real talent, she thought. She'd been at it for decades and still wouldn't dare say her food was anything special. A dark cloud formed over Lucas's face. Mom, I made that. Emily looked shocked. Don't you lie to me. You think I can't recognize my own son's cooking? Unconvinced, she tried the sautéed kale next to it. This one is Lily's. She sounded certain this time. Their family generally liked bold flavors, but her son was the only one who preferred his food lightly seasoned. This dish was a little on the salty side. It couldn't have been Lucas. Lucas sighed. Wrong again. I made that one too. Sophia started to feel a bit awkward, even pitying her future son-in-law. She took a bite of the scrambled eggs with chives. This is definitely Lucas's. No doubt about it. He always cooks on the lighter side. Although she hadn't eaten his cooking many times, she knew her daughter's habits. This tasted like his style, and by process of elimination, she was confident. Lily, who had just been feeling sorry for Lucas, suddenly looked hurt. Mom, don't say that. You eat my food every day. You can't tell. A few seconds of silence hung over the table before Emily suddenly chuckled. Emily, what's so funny? Sophia asked, puzzled. I was just thinking, Emily said, that I don't have to worry about these two fighting in the future. After all, they were already subconsciously adjusting their cooking to match each other's favorite tastes. If they could compromise on that level without even thinking about it, what conflict could they possibly not resolve? So what if she was shipping her own son's relationship? It was better than any drama on TV. The two mothers didn't dare guess the remaining dishes. To break the awkward tension, Emily launched into a series of embarrassing stories from Lucas's childhood. It worked wonders. The rest of the meal was filled with laughter. Lily had a class in the afternoon, and Lucas needed to head back to the office. After saying their goodbyes, they went downstairs and walked side by side through the white, silent world. Their feet left two parallel lines of shallow footprints in the thin layer of snow, a matching set that trailed behind them as they walked. Lucas breathed warm air onto his left hand while his right held the girl's beside him. Lily let him lead, walking precariously on a narrow curb with her arms outstretched for balance, like she was on a tightrope. Why are you acting like such a kid? Lucas couldn't help but tease with a laugh. This was the kind of stuff he'd gotten tired of back in elementary school. Same category as only stepping on certain colored tiles, not stepping on the cracks, or pretending you'd die if you fell off the curb. Heh, so childish. He had no idea what went through his own head back then. Lily let out a little huff of protest. I'm not that old yet. A smirk played on Lucas's lips. After New Year's, you'll basically be ancient. What? The comment startled her so much she nearly tumbled off the curb, ruining her long, successful run. She stopped and straightened up, looking at him with utter confusion. Seeing the adorable cluelessness in her eyes, Lucas laughed and explained, You'll be 20. Isn't that basically 30 in college years? Lily had no words. If it weren't for the beanie she was wearing, she would have given him a solid headbutt. A moment later, Lucas sidled closer to her. Don't want you to twist an ankle. Okay, the snow was thin, and in the places where cars had driven, it was packed down into slick, icy patches. Without a word, Lucas ran ahead, took a two-step running start, and slid a good 10 feet down the path. Lily watched the supposedly mature adult playing in front of her, her expression completely deadpan. He just called her childish, and now he was making his own personal skating rink. Why are you acting like such a kid? she mimicked, using his exact tone from before. I dare you not to try it. Lily's cheeks puffed out. She took a running start and slid right toward him. Seeing her coming with her arms wide open, Lucas thought she was going for a hug and simply stood there, waiting. See? Fun, right? He started to say. Wait. She wasn't stopping. By the time Lucas realized her plan, it was too late to dodge. The girl crashed into him, sending them both tumbling into a soft bank of snow. Yeah, it's fun, Lily said, giggling, her hair tickling his face. Lucas stared up at the blue sky for a moment, then reached up and gently pinched her cheek. Great. Now I have to go home and change. Doesn't that mean you get to spend more time with me? Puffed up in her winter coat, like a little penguin, Lily snuggled against him. She wanted to take a nap with him. It was true what they said. Once you get used to luxury, it's hard to go back. The thought of napping alone now was unbearable. If she wasn't in his arms, she didn't even want to sleep. If I don't go to work and just hang out with you, are you going to support us on hopes and dreams? Lucas chuckled. There was no one else around. Seeing that they were alone, Lily made no move to get up. She just lay there on top of him, a faint smile on her face. She poked the tip of his nose, then suddenly remembered a movie they had watched. She hooked a knuckle under his chin. Run away with me, she said dramatically. I'll support you with my art. Lucas blinked. Though he'd never taken her unrealistic fantasies seriously, he doubted any guy could hear those words and not feel a flutter in his chest. Lily's cheeks were cool from the winter air, but he couldn't resist leaning up to kiss one. His eyes darted around for a moment. Instead of following a script, he just whispered, I'll be waiting. When they got to the bottom of his apartment building, most of the snow on the walkway had been cleared. As they reached the entrance, they saw one of the older residents from the building sweeping the last of it away. The man held a broom taller than he was, clearing a wide swath with every push. Lucas recognized him, a decorated veteran who had seen real combat. He'd often seen the man sweeping the hallways, floor by floor. His kids were grown, he wasn't short on money, and he didn't work for the building management. He just did it to stay active and help out the community. It was that old-school sense of duty. Hey, Mr. Gable, not taking a break for lunch? Lucas called out with a smile. The white-haired man stopped and turned. Getting old. Don't need as much sleep. His eyes widened when he saw the snow and slush caked on Lucas's clothes. What in the world happened to you, kid? Slipped on some ice, Lucas said, scratching his head in embarrassment. He couldn't exactly say his girlfriend had tackled him into a snowdrift. Anyway, we're heading up. You two kids should come over for dinner sometime. Older apartment complexes had their share of rowdy kids, but for the most part, the residents were friendly and easygoing, which Lily both appreciated and dreaded. Every time someone struck up a conversation with her, she'd stammer and blush for a solid minute. Will do, Lucas said. He brushed at the snow on his back, but it was caked on. Giving up, he turned and started up the stairs. The culprit, Lily, followed meekly behind him, wondering if she was a lamb walking into a tiger's den. Outside, Lucas was too self-conscious to do anything to her. Inside, however, all bets were off. They walked up in silence and quickly reached his front door. Lucas unlocked it, then stepped aside to let her pass, his face a perfect mask of calm. This only made Lily more nervous. She squeezed past him, blinking her eyes rapidly. I'm sorry, okay? I'll wash your clothes for you later. Lucas wasn't letting it go. He walked in, sat on the sofa, and made a grasping motion in the air with his hand. Lily took off her puffer jacket and hung on the coat rack. Underneath, she wore a slim-fit black turtleneck that perfectly accentuated her delicate curves, paired with winter-weight jeans that made her look slender and elegant. She pressed her lips together and walked over to him. It's cold. If you want to touch my legs, can you at least do it through my jeans? I just want to check if you have a conscience. I have to go draw. Lily dodged away, putting distance between herself and the well-dressed predator. Lucas's lips curved into a smirk. He grabbed his dirty clothes and headed for the bathroom. If he didn't wash them, this goofball really would. It was freezing out. How could he let a girl touch icy water? A guy with a 7-figure net worth, washing his own clothes. The injustice of it all. Half an hour later, you invite me over for a nap, and then you leave me to sleep alone? Lucas said, leaning against her bedroom doorway with a look of exasperation. He couldn't believe it. A whole company was waiting for him to lead a meeting, and here he was, the boss of a 100-plus person firm, waiting to take a nap. Stranger A, where's our boss? Stranger B, on nap duty. Stranger question mark. The thought made him chuckle. That conversation would be mind-blowing in any century. Nap duty sounds so weird, Lily mumbled, her eyes still glued to her computer screen. Dear Lillipad, we cordially invite you to participate in the ACG convention hosted by our company on December 16th. She read the email aloud, then turned to Lucas. Is this a scam? Curious, Lucas walked over and peered at the screen, not forgetting to snake an arm around her waist and give her a little squeeze. Before Lily could swat him away, he froze. It's from an official account. I think it's real. See where it's being held. The Seattle Convention Center. The more Lily read, the stranger it seemed. Why would they invite me? First of all, 30,000 followers isn't nothing for an artist, Lucas explained patiently. Second, they don't have to pay an appearance fee for someone at your level. If it's at the convention center, it's a big event. If you go, it'll be great exposure for you. You could meet other artists, promote each other's work. It's basically a win-win. Will there be? A lot of people. Lily's head started to ache. Asking someone who was terrified of talking to strangers to attend a Comic-Con was a fate worse than death. Can I say no? She asked. Of course you can. Lucas nodded. But personally, I think it's good to experience everything once. Lily shifted in her chair, leaning back against his chest and closing her eyes contentedly. Is this part of the plan? It's definitely part of the plan, Lucas said, taking her hand. The kind of thing that earns you a bonus point on the official girlfriend performance review. Will you have time to go with me? I can make time, Lucas said seriously, already calculating how to clear his schedule. This was a huge step for her, a move out of her self-protective little world. Nothing else was more important. Her social anxiety was extreme, and while it was even kind of cute on her, it wasn't healthy in the long run. She wasn't incapable of interacting with people. She was just afraid. Lily understood the difference between having time and making time. She lowered her eyes, wondering if she could really go alone. Since it was part of the plan, it was something she and Lucas had agreed on. He was always so patient with her. She shouldn't keep running away. Just then, a few new comments popped up on her latest post. I'm taking a 3-hour Amtrak ride to Seattle for this. If I can get a signed sketch from Lillipad, I will literally pass out on the spot. I don't even know if Lillipad is a guy or a girl, but I'll pass out with you. Probably a girl. I think she's a fan of the CEO of Polaris Interactive, the studio that made Tower of Ascension. She joked once that she was his girlfriend. God, I hope I can get a sketch. I've been waiting 2.5 years. Why are the haters getting all sentimental? Your fave is already canceled. I'll try, Lily said, mustering her courage. She looked down and noticed a conspicuous bulge inside her sweater. Lucas cleared his throat. This sweater has a nice texture. You are shameless. That evening, after class, Lily and Aaron left campus together as usual. They walked along the stone-paved path, chatting as crowds of students flowed past them, pulling them into the stream. Sometime recently, she had stopped feeling so out of place. She was becoming part of the scenery. I think there's a convention next week, Lily said suddenly, watching the clouds set ablaze by the setting sun. Aaron's interest was immediately piqued. I heard a major company is sponsoring it this time. It's supposed to be as big as the official Crunchyroll cons. Do you want to go with me? Lily asked quietly. Aaron was surprised Lily would bring up something like a convention, but she sighed dramatically. I'd love to, but I'm all out of vacation days. She sniffed loudly. And it's all your fault. If you were a little bolder, I wouldn't be in this mess. Aaron, you're getting meaner, Lily said, biting her lip with a wounded expression. Aaron flashed her canines in a mock threat. Don't you dare say another word. This goofball always made her conscience ache. If you're going, you should get tickets in advance, she said, her tough act melting away as she launched into a helpful explanation. Tickets for big cons like this sell out fast. If you don't grab them early, you might be out of luck. She paused. Though I guess you don't have to worry about that. It's not like your boyfriend is short on cash. If you wanted, he'd probably just rent out the whole convention center for you. After Aaron's long speech, Lily finally spoke, her voice soft. I was invited. I don't need a ticket. ? Aaron thought, what is it with you two? Do you just love waiting for people to ask before you show off? You're not even married yet, and you've already picked up your boyfriend's talent for the humble brag? But one look at Lily's clear, innocent eyes made her feel like she was projecting. Lucas probably won't have time, right? She finally said, reality dawning on her. Next week is the beta test for your company's new game. You're so shy. Would he really let you go alone? The two studios were practically at war, fighting for every scrap of media attention. She couldn't imagine Lucas being carefree enough to ignore all that. He wouldn't want to, Lily answered with absolute certainty. But he will, because it's what we agreed on. She knew Lucas was trying his best to be her rock, but he never wanted her to become someone who couldn't survive without him. He was incredibly jealous. He even got jealous of a little kid like Maya. But sometimes his love was completely selfless. Just as she finished speaking, a guy with a buzz cut stepped in front of them. He kept glancing back at his snickering friends, clearly pushed into this by his roommates. Hi, Aaron, though surprised that Lily hadn't immediately hidden behind her, still instinctively shielded her friend. "Hey, can we help you?" she said coolly. The guy completely ignored Aaron, a considerable feat given her striking looks if you overlooked her petite frame. He stared straight past her at Lily. "Hey, can I get your number?" Aaron's lips curved into a smirk. "Sorry, no can do. She's got to get home and cook dinner for her husband." The guy looked like he'd seen a ghost, but he clearly didn't believe it. His eyes shifted back to the gentle, beautiful girl. "She's just joking, right? She looks like a freshman. I've definitely got a chance." Under his hopeful gaze, Lily's expression turned firm. "No, you can't," she said. "My boyfriend wouldn't be happy." The guy's jaw went slack. He opened and closed his mouth, but no words came out. Defeated, he and his friends trudged away. Lily watched them go, then took a few slow, deep breaths. "What's wrong?" Aaron asked, watching her curiously. "So nervous?" Lily whispered, her voice sounding drained. She had no idea how she'd appeared on the outside, but inside, her heart had been pounding out of her chest. "Nervous? Do you have any idea how cool you just were?" Aaron gushed, her face a mask of adoration. "If I were Lucas, I would have married you on the spot." So cold and decisive when turning someone down, a total ice queen, but in front of Lucas, she was a little kitten who couldn't get enough cuddles. Who wouldn't love a girlfriend like that? Aaron ground her back teeth. Damn it. She didn't envy the gods or immortals. She just envied Lucas Carter every single day. "Why are you hugging me all of a sudden?" Lily squirmed, feeling a bit smothered by Aaron's embrace. Aaron just grinned, rubbing her cheek against Lily's. "Because you suddenly give off this major wifey vibe." She smacked her lips. "Such a perfect girlfriend. If only I were a guy." Lily immediately took 2 steps back, putting some distance between them. "You're a bad person," she whispered. "I am not." While Lily and Aaron were on their walk, Lucas was sitting on his sofa, his expression grave. The room was pitch black, illuminated only by the faint glow of his laptop screen, which reflected in his eyes. Leo's voice came through the speakers. "So, best case scenario, our game will probably launch a little later than theirs. At this point, it looks like they've thrown all shame out the window," Leo continued. "They claim to be a subsidiary of Montgomery Holdings, but it's clear the parent company is pulling all the strings directly. A studio our size couldn't possibly have this much influence otherwise. Look at their marketing budget. I don't think even Titan Gaming's top-tier studios could pull off a campaign this big." Lucas was silent for a moment. "How many people have they poached from us lately?" "We raised our salaries, so they actually haven't managed to get many," Leo said. Lucas didn't respond, a bitter smile on his face. Unbelievable. Just throwing money at people to lure them away. So this was the reality of corporate warfare. Not some complex, shadowy game of chess, but a crude, straightforward brawl. It was just like the food delivery app wars. A company with deep pockets bleeds money like a charity, offering meals for just a few bucks. Competitors are forced to follow suit, but they don't have the same capital. They can't sustain the losses and eventually have to bow out. Once the competition is gone and users have no other choice, the company sheds its charitable disguise and starts raking in the profits. As Lucas mulled this over, Leo let out a sigh of relief. "Honestly, launching later isn't the end of the world, Lucas. We can just take the hit this time. Trying to outspend a corporation with billions in capital is exactly what they want. They'll just pour more money in, poach our talent at any cost. Even if they just bench them, so we can't use them. What can we do with our current resources? Nothing. The smart play is to swallow our pride this time. It's a marathon, not a sprint." "It's fine," Lucas said, a smirk forming on his lips. "The slow runner has their own way of winning. This tailwind they've created, we might just be able to catch it." They were the ones who chose to steal his data, who handed him a lit stick of dynamite. It wouldn't be unreasonable for him to get a little upset and just drop it, right? "For now on, let's focus all our energy on game stability. We just need to not make any mistakes," Lucas said softly. "Look on the bright side. The fact that they're targeting us from every angle just proves that we're onto something big. I can guarantee it. There won't be any slip-ups on my end." "Good. I'll talk to you later." Lucas had full confidence in Leo's abilities. The guy worked so hard he might as well live at the office. Even a ruthless capitalist would shed a tear. Hearing the call disconnect, Lucas leaned back on the sofa and stared silently at the ceiling. Damn it. Being the boss is easy was a lie on the same level as college is all fun and games. He'd fallen for the latter and ended up working like a dog just to pass his classes. Then he'd fallen for the former, and now he was leading a whole group of people who were all working like dogs alongside him. Another day of wanting to quit and get a cushy government job, he muttered to himself. He suddenly realized that while he'd been on the phone, the sound of kids playing outside had faded away, and the sky had grown completely dark. It felt like waking up from a nap, sitting up alone in bed to find that night had already fallen. In those moments, a heavy feeling always settled in. Nowadays, whenever he felt down, he would think of that clingy goofball. He'd picture her smile, her clumsy, endearing movements. He wondered what Lily was doing right now. Even though he got to hold her, all soft and warm and sweet-smelling, during their afternoon naps, the nights were still spent alone in an empty room. The comfort of holding her that one night only made the subsequent loneliness feel more profound. He wished they could just live together already. Oh, right. Before moving in, they should probably get engaged. He had to be responsible. At least then it would be official, and it wouldn't reflect poorly on Lily. A long road ahead. Lucas picked up his water glass, took a sip with a placid expression, and began to formulate a new plan. Time to add some fuel to the fire. He was deep in his melancholy when the sound of a key turning in the lock came from the front door. Lily tiptoed in. Seeing the darkness, she didn't rush to close the door, but turned on her phone's flashlight. Using its beam to guide her, she crept into the living room to turn on the lights. Suddenly, she saw a figure sitting on the sofa, blinking at her. She jumped, startled. When her eyes adjusted and she recognized Lucas's face, she finally relaxed. I thought you weren't home. It was proof that a person's courage rarely changed. Why didn't you turn on the lights? When he didn't answer, she asked again. Why would a lonely old man need lights? Lucas tossed his phone and laptop aside, pushing away all his worries and offering her a faint smile. Lily paused, then, without even taking off her coat, sat down on his lap. She gently wrapped her arms around his neck, her shimmering, autumn pool eyes fixed on his. Are you still lonely now? The living room was dim, and they could only vaguely make out each other's expressions. Lucas's lips curved upwards. Much better now. Hearing this, she placed a gentle kiss on his forehead, her bangs brushing against his cheek, tickling him. Be happy, she said softly. Lucas smiled and buried his face in the crook of her neck, inhaling deeply. I'm not unhappy. I don't believe you. Why can I never hide it when I'm upset with you? Lucas wondered aloud. Lily let out a long breath that was somewhere between exasperation and a laugh. She wasn't capable of real anger, so her face was mostly filled with a gentle smile. Lucas. She cupped his face, meeting his gaze while her thumbs gently smoothed the furrows in his brow. You should never think you can hide anything from someone whose eyes are only for you. Lucas froze, as if turned to stone. All the while, Lily just smiled, playfully squishing his face into all sorts of strange expressions. As she was kneading his cheeks, he suddenly grabbed her wrist, holding it firm. What are you doing? Lily sensed trouble. Before she could ask again, Lucas's lips were on hers. A long while later, looking at Lily lying on the sofa, her face flushed and her breathing ragged, Lucas finally smiled, satisfied. That's more like it. A silly goofball like you, acting so tough in front of me. She was a strange one. She always forgot to breathe when they kissed, as if breathing during a kiss was as difficult for her as patting her head and rubbing her stomach at the same time. Lily bit her lip, aggrieved. He really couldn't stand to lose. The second she gained the upper hand, he'd use this tactic to put her back in her place. Wait, she could do that too. She thought about it and decided against it. It felt like no matter who started it, Lucas would always come out on top. The thought alone made her blush. She quickly rolled on her side and buried her face in a throw pillow. But thanks to you, I'm much happier now, Lucas said, clapping his hands together. I'll cook tonight. Lily lightly tossed the pillow at him in a show of defiance, then fixed her hair and stood up. I'll do it, she said softly. Lucas caught the pillow midair. All right, rock, paper, scissors. Winner doesn't have to cook. Okay. The word had barely left Lily's lips when the very pillow she'd just thrown boomeranged back and clonked her on the head. You just love bullying me. They played a chaotic game of rock, paper, scissors, punctuated by flying pillows, until a winner was finally decided. I win, Lily said quietly, looking at her rock and then at Lucas's scissors. She didn't seem very happy about her victory. I lost. I'll cook, Lucas said, heading to the fridge to see what he could ruin. Cooking for himself wasn't so bad, actually. He was sick of takeout. More than once, he'd been starving, opened a delivery app, and then scrolled for half an hour without finding anything he wanted to eat. He'd ordered from every place with fast delivery nearby. The few he really liked, he'd had so many times he was tired of them. It was like how KFC was only good on special deal days. Eating it every day would get old fast. Ultimately, the best solution was to find a girlfriend who was an amazing cook. As he thought this, he glanced over at Lily and couldn't help but smile. The silly goofball was still curled up on the sofa, hugging her knees, looking small, pitiful, and helpless. You look so cute even when you're pouting. Who could resist teasing you? Lucas thought, absolving himself of all guilt as he swaggered into the kitchen. A little while later, as he was cooking, he heard the soft patter of slippers approaching. Before he could turn around, a pair of arms wrapped tightly around him from behind. "What's up?" Lucas glanced down at the arms around his waist, turned the stove down a little, and asked. "Give me a point," Lily said, rubbing her cheek against his back, fully embracing her inner cat. Lucas was confused. "Why?" "Today, when I was walking, a guy asked for my number," Lily said slowly. "I was really scared, but I turned him down myself. I didn't let Aaron do it for me." "Oh yeah." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "How'd you turn him down?" "I said my husband would be unhappy. That's my girl. Come here, give me a kiss." "Wait, let me finish." Lily wiped her lips and gestured to her forehead. "Do you think I should buy a hat?" Ever since Lucas's speech that day, fewer people had been bothering her. But there were still a few stragglers who hadn't gotten the memo. She was actually starting to miss being invisible. Lucas suddenly laughed. "There's an easier way." "What?" "Go get a marriage certificate. Next time someone asks for your number, you can just shove it in their face." Lucas puffed out his chest. "I'm a nice guy. I'll help you out. I'll go with you to get one. There's still 304 days left." "What, 304 days?" "And nothing." Lily quickly waved her hands and scurried out of the kitchen. Around 10 o'clock that night, Lily was sitting on the sofa, researching what to prepare for the convention. Lucas held her in his arms, occasionally burying his nose in her hair to breathe in its clean scent. It was strange. Everything about this goofball smelled amazing. Girls really were soft, fragrant creatures. "My mom is asking when I'm coming home," Lily said suddenly, looking at a message on her phone. "Tell her right now." Lucas leaned over and picked up his car keys from the coffee table. "I'll take you back." After locking the door, Lucas reached out and poked her forehead. "Don't you get tired coming back and forth like this every day?" "It's okay." "No, you're tired. You should just move in." "No." Lily turned her head, and the little pom-pom on her beanie bounced along with the movement. "Absolutely not. If she lived here every day, forget Lucas, she wouldn't be able to control herself." Lucas tested the waters and mentally turned the key, satisfied. When this little frog turned her head or looked away while refusing, it meant she was close to being fully cooked. He wasn't called the master frog boiler for nothing. On the morning of December 6th, the first day of the Seattle convention and the day of his company's second game's internal beta test, Lucas arrived at the office, yawning. This was the earliest he'd ever come in since the company was founded. Is there any justice in the world when the boss has to get up this early? "Anyone who comes in later than me gets their pay docked," he muttered to himself as he pushed open the door. He looked around at the packed office and realized that he, the boss, was still the last one to arrive. Even Erin was there, sitting at her desk and munching on potato chips. He walked over to her station. "You don't have to work today." Erin jumped. "Am I fired? That couldn't be right. She'd been a menace for ages. Why would she suddenly get fired today?" Even a terrorist's self-reflection was unique. Lucas was speechless. "My girlfriend is at the convention today, and I can't get away. Go keep her company." "What do you mean, your girlfriend?" "I don't approve of this marriage. Lily and I are a perfect match. What right do you, an old hag, have to object?" Lucas didn't have time to argue. He tapped his finger on her desk. "Paid leave. Are you going or not?" "You should have said so." Erin didn't even bother to pack her things. She shot up from her chair, grinning. "You made it sound so awkward. I've known since day one that you and Lily were made for each other." Leaving a parting shot of flattery, the head of the art department swaggered out. Before the meeting, Lucas and Jason were chatting in the office. Leo saw the two company founders whispering and figured it was something serious and important, so he didn't go in to say hello. "Where's Erin? How could she miss such an important meeting?" Jason asked curiously. He didn't think he'd seen her that morning. "Does it make a difference whether she's here or not?" Lucas said flatly. "She'd just be slacking off anyway. I kicked her out to go with Lily to the convention." Jason nudged Lucas with his shoulder. "Hey, tell me, how far have you and my future daughter-in-law gotten?" "Grown-up business. Kids should stay out of it." Lucas couldn't be bothered. He was always the one taking advantage of others. He never let someone get a cheap shot in on him. Jason sucked his teeth. "You two have been spending every afternoon in the same apartment for ages. Can't I even ask?" "I'm not in a rush. I'm following her lead. Worst case scenario, we wait until we're officially licensed." "Damn, you're a real man." Jason gave him a thumbs up, genuinely impressed with his friend. "But I really don't get it. You have a girl that beautiful sleeping next to you every afternoon, and you can control yourself? How the hell do you do that? Teach me, bro. I need to learn." He could control himself because Vanessa was a fifth-degree black belt who could literally string him up and beat him. If he tried anything, he'd probably end up with 3 broken legs. He had no choice but to be a living pillow. Lucas's situation was different. It was unbelievable that he could hold back. Oomph. Under Jason's confused gaze, Lucas let out a scornful laugh. Please, I can recite Hamlet's to be or not to be soliloquy. Backwards. Lucas finished his boast with a lazy yawn. Stop asking about me. How are things with you? Jason didn't answer. He just silently held up his phone, where he just searched for the text of Hamlet's soliloquy. Truthfully, he wasn't in much of a hurry either. It was a strange contradiction. Some people wanted their partner to be reserved and not easy, yet at the same time, they wanted them to be eager to jump into bed. The logic was flawed. As long as Vanessa wasn't just reserved with him, then her being a bit conservative wasn't a bad thing at all. Lucas got it immediately and couldn't help but chuckle. So, you're playing the role of the perfect gentleman, too. Ever since college started, I've forgotten everything I learned in high school, Jason sighed. I couldn't remember a single line just now. You can't just brute force memorize that stuff. If you learn a little about the context and get interested, it sticks with you better. If it weren't for the pressure of standardized testing, literature could be an incredibly romantic subject. So many people just memorize the classic texts, forced to rush through them by academic pressure, never getting a chance to stop and appreciate the stories behind the words. Life was hard, and nobody had time for that. My brain can't hold that much stuff. I just want to go to the pier and eat some fries, Jason said, leaning back in his chair with an air of detached zen. Lucas didn't bother trying to instill any cultural appreciation in him. He changed the subject. Your dad was asking about your relationship progress. You perv. That's what I've been worrying about lately. Jason let out a long sigh, his expression turning serious. I'm thinking of taking her home for New Year's. Lucas's eyes widened. That was a bombshell. His father was the extremely controlling type, the kind of man who would forcibly choose his son's college major. It wasn't a stretch to think he'd want to set Jason up with the daughter of some other powerful figure. Besides, Jason basically never went home except for a few days during the holidays. The scene was bound to be terrifying. Can you even pull your head out of work long enough to be meeting the parents already? Lucas asked, surprised. Even if you're both a year older than me, you're only 22. Shouldn't you wait until things cool down with your family? New Year's is right around the corner, and then we'll be 23. My youth is precious, and so is hers. I can't just keep stringing her along. Jason stubbed out his cigarette. Anyway, breaking up isn't an option, so we might as well get serious and at least meet the parents. I'll take her to meet mine over New Year's, and then a couple of days later, I'll go visit her family. Lucas nodded slowly. It's a long road ahead. What guy wasn't terrified of meeting his girlfriend's parents? It was basically like marching up to their door and announcing your intention to steal their prized possession. Yeah, a long road. Jason let out a dry laugh and cursed. Damn it, this time last year, all I was thinking about was what game to play at night. How did I suddenly start stressing about getting married? He shook his phone. I'm getting old, man, you know? I want to play a game, get all excited, open my computer, and then just stare at my library without wanting to launch anything. I end up just leaving the computer on and scrolling through videos on my phone. Our mindset is shot, Lucas chuckled. My girlfriend can get completely absorbed in a game of Plants vs. Zombies. Meanwhile, Lily had also arrived at the convention early. The organizers needed to take promotional photos of the invited guests. The sun hadn't fully risen yet, but long lines were already forming. A thin mist hung in the air, shrouding the tops of the distant skyscrapers. Lily was still sensibly bundled in a thick puffer jacket. Erin, standing beside her, had learned her lesson after a few days of being humbled by the cold and had swapped her stylish trench coat for a long down jacket. She was starting to like this kind of coat. No matter how different people's bodies were, everyone looked the same in a puffer jacket. Look at her now. Only her face was a little less pretty than Lily's, and her height was a little shorter, and her aura was a little less graceful. And, I'm going home, Erin announced, her face grim. Huh. Lily turned her head, a puff of warm breath escaping her lips. Are you cold? I can walk you back. As she spoke, she took Erin's reddened hands and tucked them into her own pockets, warming them with her own. Erin's conscience flared up again. She shuffled closer to Lily. I was just kidding. You shouldn't buy coats without pockets just because they look good, Lily said softly. I know. By the way, how did you suddenly have time to come with me? Lily asked curiously. Lucas's company was supposed to be swamped today. Even he, the king of sleeping in, had gotten up around the same time she did. Erin shrugged. Isn't it obvious? Your man sent me to babysit you. No matter how much she clashed with Lucas, she wasn't the type to hide a favor. This morning, before the meeting even started, your boyfriend suddenly told me that company decisions rarely seem to involve me anyway, so he kicked me out to come hang with you. She bit her lip. A tiny part of her was actually annoyed. Leo, who was at her same level, was now practically Jason's second-in-command, and she was the head of the art department. She got paid a manager's salary, but couldn't even attend a meeting like this. Not that she did anything in meetings besides zone out or secretly play games on her phone. Lily blinked. She was already thinking about Lucas, and now she was thinking about him even more. Just as she was about to say something, it was their turn to check in. "Should I?" Aaron whispered. Lily slowly shook her head. "It's okay. Lucas and I agreed." She said it quietly, then took a deep breath, lifted her chin, and walked forward. A staff member in a face mask gave a polite nod. "Hello, ma'am. May I have your user ID? I need to verify it in our system." Lily took 2 discreet, deep breaths, trying to calm her nerves. Finally, she managed to squeeze out a few words. "Lillipad." The girl at the desk frowned. "I'm not finding you in the system. Could you please give me the full name? Do I have to say the whole thing?" Lily wanted to bolt right then and there. "Yes, I need to verify the guest information before I can let you in." Lily's cheeks were already turning pink. After several more seconds of hesitation, she stammered, "W Worlds. Smartest. Lillipad." The staff member barely suppressed a laugh. "Okay, thank you. Could you please show me the confirmation message?" Beside her, Erin was biting her lip so hard it was turning white. This was the most painful experience of holding back laughter in her entire life. Seeing her friend's reaction, Lily's cheeks puffed out. She wanted to die. "I am changing my username." "Why don't you call me, ma'am?" "I'm not even married," Lily asked as they walked a little further. "Don't talk, just don't talk," Erin said, exasperated. How could one person be so dense? It's just a polite thing, like when people call you by your username. You don't draw guys, so you have fewer female fans. That's why you haven't heard it much before. Once inside the vast convention hall, they had to register for their promotional materials. The organizers would create posters and post them online. The guests weren't just there for decoration. The promotion was mutual. It helped the artists sell their merchandise and also served as free advertising for the event. When it was her turn to choose her promo art, Lily selected mostly fan illustrations from Lucas's game, Tower of Ascension. After all, those were the pieces she had poured the most heart into. The staff member raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything. While they waited to be assigned a booth, Aaron led Lily on a tour of the hall. The venue was already filling up, and the growing crowd made it a little hard for Lily to breathe. Aaron, however, was at ease. After starting to work as a professional artist, she looked at these crowds with a sense of detachment. Her motivation was completely different from Lily's. Lily was focused on making money, so she couldn't pass up any opportunity to build her fan base. But Erin had been coddled her whole life and never had to worry about money. Drawing was a hobby, something she did for fun. She had no interest in building a social media presence or making money from her art. As for why she was willing to pour her talents into Lucas's company. First, she wanted to help her friends. Second, when Lucas and Jason weren't around, her status as the boss's girlfriend's best friend made her the de facto empress of the office. Could there possibly be a better work environment than that? Absolutely not. Conventions these days, they've changed. Just think of this as a one-time experience, Erin said grimly, her eyes on a few cosplayers in the distance. Besides, Lucas just wanted you to get out and see the world. The outfits those people were wearing probably wouldn't even pass the content filters if they were posted online. While it was only a few individuals, it was a sign that the overall atmosphere had shifted. It wasn't like the old days. Corporate money and clueless trend followers could ruin anything, just like what happened to the so-called authentic food crazes. Okay, Lily agreed immediately, without even asking why. She trusted that Lucas and Erin would never steer her wrong. She was just that agreeable. Erin remembered her instructions from Lucas and got to work, seriously explaining the functions of the various booths and displays. A lot of the cosplayers are just here to have fun, like me. They wear the costumes for themselves, she said, then pointed to some of the more prominent booths. This is prime real estate. As a guest, you should be assigned a spot over here. Won't there be a lot of people? Lily mumbled. Making her stand in a place like that all day would be a form of torture. The thought prompted her to pull a face mask from her bag and put it on. Then, under Erin's astonished gaze, she produced a baseball cap and settled it on her head. Anyone who didn't know better would think she was about to commit a crime. Lily, that get up, Erin said, exasperated. Up close, people will think you're a celebrity in disguise. From a distance, you look like a thief. While it couldn't completely hide her gentle aura, anyone's first impression would be of suspicious character. Lily took out her phone and looked at her reflection, blinking blankly. She did look a little like a thief, but it didn't matter. She felt much safer now. A short while later, a staff member led them to their assigned booth. It wasn't just different from what Erin had expected. It was the complete opposite. All the other booths were clustered together, but theirs was isolated against the far wall. The only one in that section, Worse, it was next to an emergency exit and, on the far right, the restrooms. As they stood there in shock, Aaron glanced into the distance and saw a massive block of booths dedicated to a demo event for their main competitor's game. An outlandish thought crossed her mind, but surely they wouldn't be that petty, even if their companies were at war. Aaron frowned and grabbed Lily's arm. "Lily, we're leaving." Lily, unaware of the situation, whispered, "But people are coming for signed sketches. I promised them. No one's even going to come over here. They're trying to force us out." Aaron's anger grew. To call this childish was an insult to children. Why would they want to force us out? We didn't do anything. Lily asked, bewildered. The question stumped Aaron. She didn't know how to explain it, since it was all just a guess. Seeing Aaron fall silent, Lily quietly began to set up their booth. The convention had provided a simple metal table, just long enough for an adult to lie on. Lily spread out a tablecloth she had bought and began arranging her things. She didn't complain. In a way, she was used to this kind of unfair treatment. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and she was never the one to squeak. Just as Aaron predicted, almost no one came by. The convention center was simply too massive. The two of them sat there in silence, watching the bustling crowds in the distance. The lively atmosphere over there seemed to exist in a different universe. No one even glanced in their direction. It was a comfortable environment for Lily, but she couldn't help feeling a pang of disappointment. She had stayed up late for days practicing to make the signed sketches look nice, but she hadn't given away a single one of the free souvenirs she'd prepared. A lump formed in her throat. Just as she was about to sigh, her phone vibrated in her pocket. It was a message from Lucas. "Lucas, how's it going? A lot of people asking for sketches." "Lily, no one." "Lucas, just you wait. Your #1 fan is on his way." "Man, I can't believe I'll be the first person to get a signed sketch from the future A-list artist, Lillipad. This is going to make my whole day." Lily's lips curved into a smile, and the tears that had been welling in her eyes retreated. She was always so easy to cheer up. "Lily, but it's really fun here. You focus on your work." She put down her phone and looked at Aaron, who was yawning beside her. Her gaze drifted back to the distant booths, to the artists with long lines of fans waiting for autographs. A sense of wonder filled her eyes. It really did look like fun. An unknown amount of time passed before a young man with a hiking backpack and square-rimmed glasses ran over. Both girls sat up, excited. He was their first visitor all day. But under their expectant gazes, the man asked, "Are you staff?" Lily froze. "I'm not. I'm an artist." "Oh, sorry. I saw you standing by the emergency exit and thought you worked for the con." "It's okay." Lily shook her head slowly, pointing into the distance. "If you're looking for the restroom, it's over there." Thanks. The man hurried off, clearly only there for the bathroom. Aaron felt an urge to flip the table. But then she saw Lily, frozen like a statue, a look of profound disappointment on her face, and she stopped. This goofball must have prepared so hard for this. Knowing her personality, she would have practiced over and over, maybe even rehearsing what she was going to say. "Lily, let's just sit and wait," Aaron said, her entire demeanor softening. What if a fan is still looking for you? They had nothing better to do anyway. Slacking off here was the same as slacking off anywhere else. Okay. It was past 11 o'clock when their second visitor finally arrived. As Lily was zoning out, a long-haired girl in a sailor uniform tapped her on the shoulder. The girl looked at the art hanging at the booth. "You're Lillipad, right?" "I am. I'm P8.I Origami, the one with 600K followers on Bilibili." The girl wanted to glomp her, but held back when she saw Lily's timid expression. "I've shared your art before." She decided not to mention that she'd spent half the morning looking for Lily, only to stumble upon her booth by accident on her way to the restroom. Lily vaguely remembered the name. "Thank you," she said softly. The girl in the sailor uniform looked at Lily's art again. "Don't you know? The company sponsoring this con is a mortal enemy of Polaris Interactive. A lot of the big-name guests brought fan art for their new game. With the art you're displaying, I think they're intentionally giving you a hard time. The person in charge of this event is kind of a jerk." Lily was surprised. It took her a moment to connect the dots and understand why she had been stuck in this corner. "Thank you for telling me," she said. "Don't just thank me. Why aren't you freaking out?" the girl exclaimed. "I love Tower of Ascension too, but why pass up on making money? If we can't earn a living, our art is worthless. I don't have connections with the organizers at Montgomery Interactive, but I know the event planners pretty well. Here's the deal. Take down your art, and I'll take you to talk to the person in charge. Just say you accidentally uploaded some bad pieces and want to replace them." Lily blinked blankly. "Thank you," she said softly, "but that's okay. You have to understand, you've never promoted yourself on any other platform, never attended any events. You got these 30,000 followers just by silently posting art. There's no fluff." The girl was getting more and more agitated, as if it were happening to her. You have so much momentum right now. If you market yourself properly at this event, you could blow up. Lily looked down at the prints she had chosen, her fingers gently tracing the lines. This, she said, her voice quiet but firm, is more important to me than anything. I don't want to take them down. This was the character Lucas had designed with his own hands, his favorite. That made her favorite, too. She had personally witnessed Lucas sitting at his computer, toiling over this character day after day, night after night. This was his creation. Now that she had drawn it, with his encouragement, it was their creation. It was the beginning of her own change. The girl in the sailor uniform looked baffled. With a sigh, she didn't press the issue. To each their own, she supposed. Some people just didn't need the money. Not like her, who was practically broke after a fight with her mom. I have to get back to my own signing. Let's do a collab on Billy sometime, she said as she walked away. Lily wasn't good with such outgoing people. She could only manage a soft okay. Damn it. As soon as the girl was gone, Aaron, who had been sitting silently on her stool, couldn't help but curse. Lily looked at the time. It was already 10:50 a.m. Let's pack up, Lily said quietly, her eyes on the artwork. We'll leave as soon as we're done. To say these characters weren't suitable for display, just to get a better spot? Never. Just as they were about to leave, a new face finally appeared at their booth. This time, Lily was stunned speechless. It was Lucas. He smiled and shrugged at her. So this is what you call really fun. Lily slowly lowered her head. From Lucas's perspective, her entire face was hidden by the brim of her cap. He walked over to her, gently cupped her face, and said softly, "Let me tell you something, too. Never try to fool someone whose eyes are only for you." Lily had been holding it together, but the moment she saw him, all the bottled-up frustration she'd been suppressing came flooding out. She practically melted into his arms, hugging him tightly. "How did you end up over here?" Lucas asked. "Did you get pushed out of a good spot because you're too quiet?" Aaron, who had been a third wheel all morning, finally seized her chance to speak. She angrily recounted the whole story. "How was your intel so bad? You didn't even know who was sponsoring this con beforehand. Why would I? There are a million of these things, big and small. Who has time to keep track of the investors?" Lucas gently patted Lily's back. "Wow, you gave us such a spacious spot." Aaron snorted. "You bet. Look how much room we have. If there's an earthquake, we'll be the first ones out." Short-sighted, Lucas scoffed. He pulled out his phone. "Hey, Leo, like last time, give me some banners." He paused. "This place is bigger, so get as many as you can. I'll send you the template in a bit. You can write the copy." A smirk spread across his face. "Yeah, you can freestyle it. I have complete faith in your level of cringe. Are you done with work? If not, we can just leave together," Lily asked quietly, still reluctant to let go of him. "Good thing I am," Lucas said, gently stroking her face. "Look how upset my girlfriend is." Even with the mask and cap hiding most of her face, he could see the slight redness in her eyes. If it were just a case of no one visiting Lily's booth, he might have just taken her home. But this was a deliberate act of exclusion. He wasn't about to let them get away with it. Lily didn't say anything else. Her courage was spent. All she wanted now was to hug Lucas and recharge. "I can't get a point for this, can I?" She mumbled a moment later, speaking their private language. Lucas couldn't help but smile. The day's not over yet. As Lucas's most loyal and capable subordinate, Leo was remarkably efficient. It didn't take long for him to get the banners made and delivered. Lucas stood at the entrance to the hall, waving him over from a distance. "I should probably take it back to the office. Still have stuff to finish," Leo replied, not standing on ceremony. "All right then, make sure you get some rest. Your health is your most important asset." Lucas bought a couple of hot dogs from a food truck, munching on one as he spoke. "Life's too short. Why waste it on overtime?" Leo looked at him, speechless. "It's kind of weird hearing that from you, the boss." Back in the convention hall, Lucas handed out the food, then stood to the side, studying the booths in the distance. "You right now remind me of a saying," Aaron said suddenly. "What?" "That year I was 21 at the Seattle Convention Center, standing like a nobody. I don't play that 30 years East, 30 years West game," Lucas said, dusting the crumbs from his hands and standing up. "When I have a score to settle, I settle it on the spot." He was about to hang the banners when Lily came over to help. "What does it say?" she asked curiously. "You'll see when it's up." Lily looked at the smirk on Lucas's face, her clear eyes filled with confusion. Once the banners were up, she certainly did see, and she wanted to run away immediately. Soon to be A-list artist Lilapad's only convention signing of her career. "You've missed so many limited edition characters. Are you really going to miss the limited edition art book, too?" The bright, bold letters made her face burn. She quickly poked Lucas's arm. "If you make such a big claim, What about in the future? Lucas looked at what Leo had come up with and couldn't help but raise an eyebrow, but he replied calmly, "We're not actually going to any more conventions. So what's the problem?" A little while later, "Excuse me," a girl with short hair tentatively approached. Aaron, chin in hand, pointed off to the sideboard. "Restrooms over there." "I'm not looking for the restroom." The girl looked up to confirm the words on the banner. "Where is the great Lillipad?" "That's me." Lily, who had been sitting on the side while Lucas played with her hands, shyly stood up. The girl's face lit up. "I took a 3-hour Amtrak train to get here. I can't believe I actually found you. I spent all morning looking for you." She pointed toward the main hall. "What is wrong with this convention? I would have regretted it for the rest of my life if I'd missed you." It was the first time Lily had experienced such enthusiastic fandom. The girl's eyes were literally sparkling as she watched Lily sign her art. The girl looked at the signed sketch with satisfaction, then picked up a small gift box from the table. "How much is this souvenir?" "I made them myself. They're free," Lily said quietly. "Are you an angel?" The girl couldn't help but look Lily over again. Even with the disguise, she could tell she was a gentle and beautiful person. Just looking at her was making her swoon. "Her eyes are so pretty. Can we get a photo together?" Lily looked troubled, trying to figure out how to politely refuse. "Sorry, the artist has social anxiety." "No photos," Lucas said, stepping in. The girl finally noticed him. "And you are?" He was kind of handsome. "Her boyfriend," Lily said immediately. Lucas blinked. Was this goofball learning how to stake her claim? "That's nice," the girl said with a nod. After their first fan left, Lucas went back to playing with Lily's hands. "First one gone. Are you happy?" The visible parts of Lily's eyes curved into a crescent-shaped smile. Happy. She had never experienced such warm, enthusiastic kindness before. Aaron, who had been slacking off, watched the scene, thinking to herself that you couldn't put a price on a beautiful woman's smile. And wasn't Lily more beautiful than any so-called beauty? A little sacrifice for her best friend's happiness was worth it. She gritted her teeth and said to Lucas, "You hold down the fort. I'll be right back." "For what?" "To change clothes." It was December in Seattle, with temperatures hovering near freezing. Snow had been falling on and off for days. Aaron returned in full cosplay. This was one of the reasons Lucas didn't mind her acting like a tyrant at the office. The way she cared for Lily was enough to earn her a permanent meal ticket at his company. Her costume wasn't revealing, but her natural good looks and professional presentation made her far more eye-catching than those who relied on showing skin. Now, they had a real spectacle. The massive banner was already flashy enough, but now people in the distance could see a beautiful girl standing there and couldn't resist coming over for a look. Humans are creatures of conformity. The herd mentality is far more pronounced in them than in actual sheep. Word spread like wildfire. In less than an hour, their little corner had become a must-see attraction at the convention. Some came for the limited edition signed sketches. Others came to get a photo with the cosplay goddess. The reasons were varied and plentiful. Among them were some genuine 10-year fans of Lillipad. People have a special affinity for anything limited edition. Otherwise, unscrupulous companies wouldn't release so many limited-run characters or skins, or things labeled, while supplies last that never actually run out. Hearing that this was Lillipad's one and only signing, those who had never heard of her were initially confused. Who is Lillipad? They might think, but that confusion would be followed by curiosity. They'd come over to join the spectacle, thinking that with such a commotion, she must be a famous artist. Her last signing ever? Well, who cares if I know her or not? What if I get something that becomes a collector's item? That's a huge win. As they thought, why not take advantage of this? They joined the line, which in turn added more credibility in the eyes of others that Lillipad is a famous artist. The cycle repeated, the crowd grew, and Lucas's initial goal was achieved. Originally, the only people who came here were looking for the restroom. Now, the people who needed the restroom couldn't even get through the crowd. Opportunity favors the prepared. And Lily happened to be the type of person who was always working tirelessly, ready to seize any opportunity. Most people had come over with a let's see what's going on attitude, but their attention was completely captivated by Lily's art. In the morning, she hadn't given away a single sketch. By the afternoon, her hand was about to fall off from signing so many. Lucas acted as her personal secretary, answering questions for her. When the flow of people finally slowed down, they had a chance to rest. Did we maybe overdo it a little? Lily whispered in Lucas's ear, helping him wipe the sweat from his brow. She was now the most famous person at the convention. As for how many fans she actually had, no one seemed to care, and no one bothered to check. "Isn't it great?" Lucas said nonchalantly. "When we're old, we can sit together and talk about this, and remember when we were young." Nothing could move a girl's heart more than fantasizing about the future. Lily was lost in thought for a moment, then gave a soft Before 2 in the afternoon, all the homemade souvenirs Lily had prepared were gone. My luck is pretty good. I got the very last one, a young man said, smiling as he held the gift box. That one's mine, Lucas said. First come, first serve, bro. It's pretty obvious I was here first, Lucas threatened coldly, getting caught up in the moment and forgetting he needed one too. I've been here for hours longer than you. Just then, Lily leaned in close to Lucas and whispered on her tiptoes, It's okay. I saved a special one, just for you. Her warm breath tickled his ear and seemed to blow straight into his heart, making it flutter. Oh, my apologies, Lucas said, beaming. He picked up the last souvenir and handed it to the young man with great magnanimity. We're all friends here. I'll let you have this one. The young man looked down at the gift box he had just been so eager to fight for. Suddenly, he felt like he had lost badly. With all the freebies gone, Lucas decided to get some of Lily's art printed out. A larger print shop should have the right kind of specialty paper. While he was out, Lily and Aaron took a break and finally had a chance to wander around. Aaron saw a girl cosplaying as Kikyo from Inuyasha and nudged Lily with her elbow. You should try wearing something like that. I'll buy you a set. No, thank you. You don't think it looks good? It would suit you perfectly. Aaron would bet that if you grabbed 10 people off the street, at least 9 would agree that Lily would look stunning in it. It's not that I don't think it's pretty. Lily shook her head slowly. I just don't think Lucas would like it. Shut up. Aaron's voice turned icy cold. She poked Lily's forehead forcefully. Is your brain just filled with nothing but Lucas Carter? The poke stung a little. Lily covered her forehead with both hands. That's just what being in a relationship is like, she said defensively. Even before they were together, she was already worrying every day about whether he was eating properly. Aaron instinctively wanted to argue, to say, Who are you, you little dork, to lecture me? But she opened her mouth and realized she'd never actually been in a relationship. She had no rebuttal. In this area, Lily was actually more experienced than her. She couldn't just say, that's not what being in a relationship is like, because she wouldn't know. While Aaron was still speechless, Lily continued slowly. I think it's nice. It's a happy thing to have someone to care about. When I see him smile, I feel happy too. She stopped walking, her eyes fixed on the path ahead, a blissful curve to her lips. Aaron, you know I'm not an ambitious person. For years, I've just been drifting without any grand goals. A beat. So, he's the ideal for the rest of my life. There's a flaw in your logic. Aaron, the perpetual singleton, couldn't help but counter. If he's sad, doesn't that mean you'll be sad too? You're just creating another way for yourself to be unhappy for no reason. Lily stared at her, as if she'd said something utterly unbelievable. The beautiful girl blinked twice. But I won't let him be sad, she said softly. If he's sad, I'll just cheer him up. Isn't that enough? You. Aaron was furious. Why was she playing third wheel to a couple in the throes of their honeymoon phase? Was she a masochist? Things went smoothly after Lucas arrived. By evening, Lily had experienced everything she'd wanted to. She had met all the fans who had come specifically for her, and there were far more of them than Lucas had ever imagined. Her influence was much greater than they'd thought. Aaron, unwilling to endure another second of their PDA, angrily called a lift and went home, but not before flipping off the hand-holding couple as she left. Watching the car disappear, Lucas glanced curiously at Lily. What's with her? She's been acting weird ever since I got back. I don't know. Lucas reached out and took off Lily's mask. You look really good in a baseball cap, he chuckled. Like a celebrity trying to go incognito. The girl smiled secretly. A woman dresses for the one who delights in her. No girl dislikes hearing her boyfriend compliment her outfit. Did you get that out of cereal box? He asked. Lily pouted. He had just been complimenting her. The sky hadn't completely darkened yet. The fiery sun still hung on the horizon. Not in a rush to get back, Lucas took Lily for a stroll along the street. She linked her arm through his, and they walked slowly. A few sanitation workers were working overtime, clearing the snow from the sidewalks. In a nearby park, a group of kids ran around tirelessly, slipping every few steps, falling, and getting right back up to run again. Snow was nature's perfect toy for children. Do I have 2 points now? Lily asked suddenly. Lucas nodded. Yep, 2 points. They're adding up pretty fast. Of course, Lucas said, squeezing her hand. It's because you worked hard. Even though I did most of the talking, you said more words today than you usually do in a week. This goofball really was trying. Lily pressed her lips together. Can you praise me then? I can give you a kiss, Lucas offered. As if that's some great prize. She mumbled, but still tilted her head and offered her cheek. Lucas grinned, exasperated, and dutifully planted a kiss. You're so goofy. Who could resist taking advantage of you? Does this mean I could do a prize draw? Lily asked curiously. She really needed one of those veto cards to stop Lucas's shenanigans. Desperately. If you draw now, you'll only have 1 point left, Lucas said, clearing his throat. I suggest you try the free single pull first. You haven't even tried it yet. How does that work? We draw lots. The intelligent Lily frowned. Are you trying to trick me? You always clear your throat when you're up to no good. What are you talking about? Lucas nearly tripped over his own feet. Fine, if you don't trust me, I'll get Leo to code a little program just for you to do your prize draws. Lily didn't say anything else, just adjusted her cap and turned her head away. Lucas sighed inaudibly in relief. That was close. The goofball was getting smarter, but not completely smart. Luckily, he was still 1 step ahead. As they walked, the sky grew darker. Lucas exhaled a cloud of warm air, watching it dissipate, then turned to watch the cars pass by on the road. Headlights and taillights blurred into streaks of red and white, flying past his unfocused gaze. After a moment, his view was suddenly blocked by a long-haired girl. Lily had somehow moved in front of him. She reached out her hands and gently smoothed his furrowed brow. I told you before, you'll get wrinkles if you keep frowning. I'll remember what happened today, Lucas said, taking her cool hands in his voice solemn. Lily tilted her head. But I had fun. It was the first time we've done something like that together. She put her hands behind her back. As long as I'm with you, I'm happy. Lucas paused, realizing he might have been wrong. Her way of thinking had always been so simple. Sabotage, grudges, complicated schemes. She didn't care about any of it. As long as she was with him, she was happy. A complex emotion stirred within him. Lily gently bumped her forehead against his chest. I feel like people are going to mock me in the future about that A-list artist thing. Don't worry. No one will remember it, Lucas said, pulling her hands into his pocket and warming them as they continued walking. Besides, my girlfriend is going to be one of the top artists in the country someday. I'll work hard, Lily said, sounding determined but still nervous. What about you? Are you going to be like Aaron said, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company? To her, he was already a superstar. Lucas looked at her like she was an idiot. Silly, by the time you're a top artist in the country, I'll obviously be a stay-at-home husband, living off your money. Okay, Lily's reply was, as always, unexpected. That's not the right reaction, Ms. Thompson. Aren't normal people supposed to be disappointed that their boyfriend lacks ambition? It's not me that's not right, it's them. If I'm making so much money by then, why should I let you go out and suffer? Lucas nodded. Good point. So, your boyfriend is already the boss of a company. Why do you still need to work so hard? Lily froze. Why aren't you talking? Lucas pressed. Talking about what? What were we just talking about? I didn't hear. Lily mumbled, stealthily pulling her hand out of his pocket and breaking into a run. Don't learn the bad habits from me. Get back here. Lily didn't have much stamina and couldn't run fast. She was apprehended by Lucas in a matter of steps. He caught her from behind, squeezing her cheeks with his free hand. Playing dumb now, are we? Lily sighed, giving up the struggle. Lucas, I really want to be rich. Before he could respond, she corrected herself. No, I'm just really scared of not having money. Lucas's eyes lit up. Do you know how much satisfaction I've missed out on because of your noble, non-materialistic character? He thought. He whipped out his phone and pulled up the text message showing his bank balance faster than a gunslinger, as if afraid she'd change her mind. Do we look like we're short on cash? Lily stared, stunned for a moment, before a sweet smile spread across her face. Then she shook her head. That's not what I mean. Her voice was soft. If I didn't earn it, it doesn't give me a sense of security. Is that hard to understand? Are you afraid I'll leave you or something? Lucas frowned. He'd always found it strange. It was a good thing that his girlfriend wasn't materialistic, but her attitude was a bit extreme. Most girls, if their mother needed surgery and their boyfriend had the money and was willing to help, would borrow the money, or at least use it to pay off the debt. They had already decided to spend their lives together. There was no need to be so particular. While he was still puzzled, she took his hand and shook her head again. I'm not like you. I have complete faith that you'll love me forever. It's just a mental block for me. Under Lucas's curious gaze, she began to speak, her voice slow and even as they walked. My mom and I are doing well now, but have you ever thought about what would have happened if I hadn't met you? Lucas thought about it. Then he stopped. He didn't dare. Lily seemed to read his mind. It would have been awful, right? So it's thanks to you that we're okay now. But I still have to try on my own. It's a promise I made at my dad's grave when I was a little girl. Lucas didn't speak, just listened quietly. Lily had never been this talkative, not even with him. He felt like she was finally revealing the last hidden piece of her heart. Lucas, not having money is terrifying. When my dad was first diagnosed, he could have lived for a long time. But we couldn't afford the treatment. Back then, my dad started to tell me to take care of my mom, but he stopped halfway through. He changed it to, sweetheart, you have to be happy in the future. I think he wanted me to support the family, but he didn't want me to suffer. I was too young to understand then. When I got a little older, I made him a promise at his grave. So if I can't prove that I can cure my mom's illness and give her a good life all by myself. The girl still wore a faint smile, her eyes curved like crescent moons, but Lucas saw a single tear clinging to the corner of her eye, glistening under the streetlight. What kind of useless daughter would that make me? Lucas was speechless for a long time. He suddenly realized that if he were in the same situation, he'd probably feel the exact same way. If he and his mom had struggled together for so many years, only for him to rely on someone else's help to give her a better life after he'd grown up, wouldn't that make him feel useless? Who would that be fair to? It was a deep-seated complex, one she couldn't just wish away. It's for your own good. Lucas sighed internally. Those were the most insidious words in the world. No matter how much someone claimed to be doing something for another's benefit, the motivation was always their own. They would impose what they thought was good onto someone else. He had almost fallen into the same trap as so many parents. His way was good, sure, but was it what she wanted? Not necessarily. You still owe $91,000, right? Lucas asked. Lily looked at him surprised. How do you remember that better than I do? Lucas nearly gave himself away. He cleared his throat quickly. Because I care about you. We should talk to the hospital and start paying back more. Okay, and whoever set up that fundraising page is a real piece of work, Lucas said coldly, putting a $2,000 monthly cap on repayments. Did it ever occur to them that someone might want to pay it off sooner? Forcing their self-righteous idea of kindness on others and feeling proud about it. Pathetic. Lily quickly covered his mouth, her voice tense. Don't say things like that. It's bad luck. Spit, spit, spit. The silly goofball was surprisingly superstitious. Lucas rolled his eyes, but complied. I'm cursing myself. What's the big deal? He thought. He smiled and gently pulled her hand away, pressing it against his cheek. It was cool at first, but quickly warmed up. Lily, he said softly. Lily was confused by his suddenly serious expression. Remember? I made a promise to your father, too. He placed a light kiss on the back of her hand, saying everything without saying anything more. Lily had never seen a true gentleman, but she was sure none could be as dashing as Lucas in that moment. She stared, and, after a long pause, his face began to blur in her vision. How could she not remember? She would never forget it for the rest of her life. He had knelt on both knees that day. There was no sound as his knees met the dirt, but in her heart, it was a thunderclap. In that moment, he had taken on the weight of her future. I swore to myself I'd cry less. Lily quickly wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. No one liked a girl who cried all the time. It just made you a burden. You actually held it back. Lucas looked at her as if she'd performed a magic trick. Was this some kind of female superpower? The ability to turn tears on and off at will. He glanced up at the darkened sky. Want to eat out? If we go back, I'll have to drive you home again later. Lily slowly shook her head. We have to go back, she said quietly. I have something to give you. I told you at the con. I prepared something for you. You actually do. Lucas thought she was just teasing him. Well, just tell me where it is. I can get it from your room myself. Who knows what you'd actually be getting if you went into my room? Lily couldn't help but mutter. Lucas's face lit up with feigned realization. You know, I hadn't even thought of that. Lily wanted to headbutt him again. How could it be like this? One minute he was making her cry with his sincerity, and the next he was making her want to knock him out. Honestly, Lucas dreaded the late-night drive to take her home. There was always a sense of disappointment on the way back, the feeling of returning to an empty apartment. Every college grad felt a little unsettled when they first lived alone, and he was no exception. He'd never lived by himself before either. Luxury is a hard habit to break. After that one night, she had stayed over. He was even more reluctant to be alone. Nope. He had to find a way to trick her into moving in with him. What was so scandalous about it? He was just looking for a roommate. It just so happened that the person moving in with him was his girlfriend. Was there a rule that said your roommate couldn't be your girlfriend? Yes, that was it. They'd just be roommates. It wouldn't even count as living together. Lucas suddenly felt like a genius. Back at the apartment, the moment Lucas hung his coat on the rack, Lily scurried into her room. A minute later, she came out holding a framed painting, which she handed to him without looking him in the eye. Curious, Lucas took it and looked down. The painting depicted a boy standing under a streetlight, a faint smile on his face, a phone held loosely in one hand. The style was intensely personal, but it was unmistakably him. It must have been from her birthday, the moment he had called out to her. He had once given her a sketch of her waiting for him in the rain. He never expected she'd return the favor with a full-color illustration. The silly goofball was quite the romantic. He was about to smile when he noticed the Lillipad signature in the bottom right corner. But this one was different from the ones she'd given to her fans. The final stroke of the last letter curved upwards into a large, perfectly drawn heart. The lettering was beautiful and cute. This was clearly a signature and a message meant only for him. "Do you like it?" Lily asked timidly, seeing him staring. "I worked on it for a really long time." Her voice trembled with nerves. She hadn't been this anxious all day at the convention. "How long?" "Since the day you saw me drawing the pig head." Lucas's mind drifted back. That really was a long time ago. He wondered how many times she had started over, how many versions she had scrapped before settling on this one. "I love it," Lucas said. He had wanted to act a little more composed, but he couldn't keep the grin off his face. Hearing that, Lily's confidence grew. She lifted her chin playfully. "It's an exclusive gift for my #1 fan. I am eternally grateful." Lucas examined the painting from every angle, liking it more each time. The girl giggled, then cupped his face. Were the girls at the convention really pretty? Lucas's face froze. The smile vanished in an instant. A literal instant. When did this goofball learn how to ask such deadly questions? "They were all right," Lucas said earnestly. "But all of them together aren't as pretty as my girlfriend." Lily's cheeks puffed out, and she poked his forehead repeatedly. Aaron was right. All guys are the same. The same how? Your eyes wander. She let out a little huff. Always sneaking peeks at their legs in those stockings. Lucas immediately threw his hands up in surrender. "I'm innocent. I appeal." She was standing next to him most of the time. How could she even see where he was looking? Besides, he was playing customer service for her. When people came up to ask him questions, he had to look at them, right? And sometimes his eyes had a mind of their own. It wasn't like he could control their first glance. He swore he hadn't looked intentionally. Before he could explain further, a headbutt sent him tumbling onto the soft sofa. The girl shot him a fierce look without a word, then turned and went back to her room, closing the door with a bang. Was she mad? Lucas jumped up, ready to go after her and apologize. But then he thought about it. His answer had been pretty good, and Lily wasn't the type to get petty over something like this. Wait a minute. A different possibility suddenly occurred to him, and his entire being buzzed with energy. Could it be? Lucas felt like he'd just seen the golden flash of a 5-star pull in a gotcha game, but he didn't know which character he'd gotten yet. He was nervous, excited, and completely unsure. He had no idea if his guess was right. Asking felt wrong, so he just sat on the sofa, tried his best to get distracted. 10 minutes later, he couldn't sit still anymore. What if I was wrong? What if she's actually mad? He hurried to her bedroom door. Just as he was about to knock, the door creaked open. Lily peeked out. Seeing him standing there, she jumped, startled, and slammed the door shut again with a bang. It happened so fast that Lucas didn't even get a clear look at what she was wearing. But he was certain it wasn't what she'd had on before. While he stood there, bewildered, the girl's trembling voice came from inside the room. Fine, I'm not coming out. You come in." Lucas took a deep breath, placed his hand on the doorknob, pushed down, and slowly opened the door. Inside, he saw Lily leaning against the headboard, wrapped tightly in a blanket. "You're acting like you're not wearing anything under there," he couldn't help but tease. "I'd rather be wearing nothing," Lily mumbled, dying of embarrassment. She couldn't even look at herself. Were all boys perverts? Why would they like this kind of outfit? And how did those other girls have the guts to wear this stuff in public? Lucas smiled and sat down next to her, a little cloud of steam practically rising from her head. He let her lean her head on his shoulder. "Can I pull it back now?" "Don't ask me." Lily's ears were bright red, and her voice was laced with the hint of a sob. She buried her face in his shoulder, becoming an ostrich, refusing to make another sound. This guy was usually such a rogue, but now he was asking for her permission. Why couldn't he just be proactive? "Go ahead, I don't care. I'm certainly not going to say yes." Now, it was Lucas's turn to be nervous. So this was what it felt like to open a mystery box. No, this was way more thrilling than a mystery box. He swallowed hard, then slowly, carefully pulled back the blanket covering her. What met his eyes was a blue and white sailor uniform. The wide collar revealed just a hint of her beautiful collarbones, and a red bow was tied neatly in the middle. She looked exactly like a beautiful high school girl from an anime. If the outfit itself gave off an air of pure innocence, the contrast below was even more striking. Underneath the short skirt, her long, slender legs were encased in black over the knee socks. The way stockings both concealed and revealed added a certain allure, and they also flattered the legs. For someone whose legs were already unfairly gorgeous, wearing them was simply devastating. This goofball's legs were already criminally beautiful. With the socks on, Lucas couldn't tear his eyes away. Being stared at made Lily's skin crawl, but she mustered her courage and mumbled, I actually picked out this outfit and the socks a long time ago, but I was never brave enough to wear them. Lucas still hadn't recovered from his shock. She spoke again, her voice soft. Actually, I have a white pair too. I was too scared to ask what you liked. If you like the white ones, I can go change. The words seemed to drain all her energy. Lily went limp, melting against him, completely still. Lucas was stunned yet again. Damn, was she trying a new make me wife you technique every day? Did he actually save the world in a past life, or something? But Lucas was Lucas. After a moment of being deeply moved, his lecherous side took over again. It's hard to touch your legs on the bed. I'll carry you to the sofa. With that, he swept her up in his arms and walked slowly toward the living room. Lily was so shocked she forgot to wrap her arms around his neck. They dangled at her sides as she stared up at him, her mouth slightly agape, her clear eyes blinking. Was that something a human being would say? Could those words actually come out of a person's mouth? On the sofa, Lucas gently set her down and, as he usually did, placed her legs across his lap. Lily gathered her courage, leaned in, and kissed his Adam's apple. That part of him was much more honest than its owner. Lucas was a big liar, a fraud, but it was different. When she was dressed up nicely, it would bob up and down. Just as Lucas was about to float away on a cloud of smugness, she bit down hard on his shoulder. Lucas hissed in pain. He turned his head. What did you bite me for? Oof. Lily turned her face away, leaving him with only the view of her fair, lovely neck. What a little jealous baby. Lucas understood now, teasing her with a smile. You actually got jealous. No, I didn't. You're just taking advantage and then acting all innocent. Lily was actually a little embarrassed. Of course, she knew Lucas wasn't the type to cheat, and she knew the way he looked at her was completely different from how he looked at other girls. But seeing it still made her feel a little uncomfortable. That's why she'd given him a little bite. It wasn't like she used much force. She didn't want to. Suddenly, she felt like she was in the wrong again. She wiggled the legs Lucas was holding, pushing them more firmly into his lap. When other girls get jealous, their boyfriends are the ones who suffer, she said, her voice full of grievance. When I get jealous, you're the one who gets to be happy. She bit her lower lip, her cheeks puffed out. Can you even call that being jealous? It didn't count at all. No girl gets jealous and then makes her boyfriend happy. Thinking about it, she was the most pathetic girlfriend in the world. The more she thought, the angrier she got. She was definitely going to headbutt him later. No, it doesn't count, Lucas said, unable to hold back a bittersweet laugh at her adorable logic. I was just ecstatic that you were finally showing a little temper, and now you're suppressing it yourself? He felt like he'd been sent back to square one. It wasn't that he was a masochist. He just thought a little bit of temper was good for her. At least it showed she was starting to follow her own emotions, instead of before, when she wouldn't smile when she was happy or dare to cry when she was sad. Lucas held her legs like they were priceless treasures, his hands roaming over them, carefully feeling the unique texture. He'd seen plenty, but this was the first time he'd seen Lily wear them, and the first time he'd touched them. He'd already admitted he had a thing for feet, so what was the big deal about playing with her legs, too? With that thought, his territory for exploration expanded considerably. Why aren't you condemning me? He asked after a moment, feeling like something was off. You're being so compliant, makes me feel like a total pervert. It can't be helped if you fall for a rogue. I accepted that a long time ago. Lucas looked up and saw Lily holding down her skirt with one hand, her gaze as soft as water. Under his watch, now finally less nervous, she gently wrapped her arms around his neck, leaned in, and lightly nipped his lower lip. After they had been intimate for a while, he quickly defended himself, his face a mask of calm. You can't say that. You couldn't find a gentleman like me in 100 people. Anyone with a little less self-control would have sealed the deal the moment they saw you dressed like this. The fact that I can hold back proves that I really, really love you. That's why my reason can stay in control. Seeing her pursing her lips, he asked, You don't believe me? Lily's lips curved into a happy, gentle smile. She lightly tapped his stomach with her toes. I believe you. Aaron said men will say anything sweet at a time like this. If you like hearing it, you should just listen, but don't take it seriously. Lucas, damn it, that woman needs more overtime. Twilight settled over the city, and with the lights off, the living room quickly fell into darkness. The space was quiet, save for the occasional greeting drifting up from the street below. A stone dropped into still water, its ripples fading back into the peaceful silence. The atmosphere was so tranquil it felt intoxicating. Have you had enough yet? Lily, who had finally gotten used to his touch, couldn't hold back any longer. The man had been kneeling, his hand stroking her legs for what felt like an eternity. Nope. Like I said before, I could play with these legs for a year, Lucas said, matter of fact. He was a man of his word. What guy could possibly resist touching them? None. Lily was speechless. Was that really an acceptable answer? He said it with such conviction. Before she could protest, Lucas leaned down again, pressing a kiss to her thigh. In the sliver of skin between her black over-the-knee socks and the hem of her skirt, a rosy hickey bloomed. "You just love bullying me," Lily whispered, her hand still trying to hold down the edges of her skirt. A skirt this short offered zero sense of security. The older would have been in tears by now. "I do not," Lucas retorted instinctively. His eyes fell on the mark he'd left on her skin. It was a slightly unhealthy thought, but it gave him a possessive thrill of feeling that this sweet, goofy girl was his. His heart rate picked up. That's how it was when you were in love. The idea of belonging to someone or someone belonging to you. Either way, it made you happy. "Why are you staring at it like that?" Lily asked. Lucas remained quiet for a moment, still lost in thought. "It's proof that you're mine." A soft smile touched her lips. "You can be so childish sometimes." She shifted, snuggling into his lap and wrapping her arms gently around his neck. "I was always yours." Lily seemed completely oblivious to the effect she was having on him. Lying sideways in his lap, her long, stocking-clad legs stretched out, the delicate line of her waist peeking out from under her shirt. It was an impossibly alluring sight. And then she had to go and say something like that. Lucas met her gaze for a beat before capturing her lips with his. They held each other tightly, as if trying to merge into one, so close he could feel the frantic rhythm of her heart against his chest. They were, after all, still in a honeymoon phase, just like any other couple, spending every free moment tangled up in kisses and embraces. Soon, his hand, which had been gently stroking the bare skin of her waist, began to wander upward. It had started near her thigh, but Lily, sensing danger, had caught his wrist and moved it higher. Thanks to that, however, she didn't seem to mind him exploring the soft curves of her chest now, as if it were some sort of compensation. Lucas was more than happy with the trade-off, savoring the plush softness while listening to the soft sighs of the girl in his arms. After a long while, Lily finally pulled back, straightening her shirt. "Mom can walk to the community gate by herself now," she said. "I swore I wouldn't buy any more tops that are this easy to maneuver." She scolded herself. Why don't I ever learn? Lucas was definitely one to push boundaries, but her own complicity was just as much to blame. Her cheeks burned at the thought, and she stood up abruptly to go change in her room. "That's amazing. Your mom's recovering so fast," Lucas said with genuine admiration. Then he looked at her, confused. But wasn't that a bit of a random topic change? Was she trying to warn him? "My mom's getting better, so if you keep this up, I'll have her come beat you up?" It was a terrifying thought. If Lily filed a formal complaint, he wouldn't even have to face Sophia. His own mother would probably chop his hands off. "It was nothing. I was just talking to myself," Lily mumbled before gently closing her bedroom door behind her. Lucas stared at the closed door, muttering under his breath. Weirdo. Such a goofy weirdo. Lily made dinner that night. After winning a game of rock, paper, scissors, she had skipped happily into the kitchen. To an outsider, you would have thought she was the one who'd gotten out of cooking duty. Lucas had mentioned he was craving mushrooms, so she looked up a recipe and made a rich, earthy soup. After they ate, Lucas drove Lily home, same as always. As they stepped out of the building, Lily spotted a small gray cat curled up in the holly bushes by the entrance. "Is that the same cat we saw the day I had a fever?" she asked. Lucas leaned in for a closer look. "I think so. Back then, it looked like it hadn't eaten in a century. It wasn't quite as skeletal now, but its fur was matted with fresh wounds, bites and scratches, clear signs of a fight. There were no signs of human abuse, at least. It had probably learned to fight for scraps with the other strays in the area and gotten its butt kicked. It was obvious it had been abandoned for good. A cat like this, especially one so skinny, stood no chance against the tougher, semi-feral cats that ruled the neighborhood. It was clearly having a hard time. The world was full of people with short attention spans, and when that trait was applied to pet ownership, this was often the result. Lily wanted to help, but she knew Lucas had a meeting to get to after dropping her off. Worried she'd make him late, she didn't say anything. Lucas didn't consider himself a saint, but now that he'd seen the cat up close, he couldn't just walk away. The goofy girl beside him was hesitating so much that her grip on his hand had tightened. He turned around and headed back to the apartment building. He asked a woman on the first floor who owned a cat if he could have a treat stick, then tore it open and held it out. The little gray cat hesitated for a moment before tentatively licking at the paste. "Eat up," Lucas said softly. "Next time, you'll win the fight." Meow. The soft response made Lucas pause, then a smile tugged at his lips. "Obedient, aren't you?" He thought it was a neutered male, but it turned out to be a little female. Lucas gently parted its fur, examining the claw marks on its body. They had already scabbed over, so there wasn't much to be done. Still, he kept checking, searching for any other injuries. "This is just like when you found me in the park," Lily said, crouching beside him. She handed him a wet wipe for his hands, her voice gentle. "What do you mean, found you? That sounds so weird, but it's true," she murmured, reaching out to stroke the cat's head. She felt an eerie kinship with the little animal. Ostracized, hurt, out of place with nothing to her name. The only comfort she had known was finding a safe corner to hide in and lick her own wounds. She glanced at Lucas's focus profile. Yep, she thought. Exactly the same. "Which one are you talking about?" Lucas asked. The question was ambiguous. They'd met in the park twice, and in a way he'd found her both times. And somehow, she'd ended up as his girlfriend. A nostalgic, happy smile spread across Lily's face. "Both times," she said softly. New Year's Day was just around the corner, which meant the long holiday break wasn't far off. After a year of hard work, a sense of collective laziness had begun to settle in, like a train slowing as it approaches its final destination. People always complained that the holiday spirit was fading, but most still made a point to celebrate New Year's and the long winter break. It felt like a last stand for tradition. You had to care about your own holidays. If you didn't, who would? With the game just waiting to launch, things at the studio had quieted down. Lucas also had a royal summons from the Queen, his mother, to come home for a couple of days, so he decided to give everyone an extra day off. But a feeling of the calm before the storm hung in the air. Everyone could feel it. As Lily's popularity grew, so did her income, and she started spending more generously, but only on him. Not long ago, she had bought a fancy juicer and left it at his apartment. Watermelons in December were ridiculously expensive, but she bought them anyway, just so he would drink less soda. Lucas glanced down at the copy of Asimov's Foundation in his hands. He used to think it was a monumental work of science fiction, but now it felt average. My girlfriend is way more sci-fi than this book, he thought. Maybe just a step below the three-body problem. Just then, he heard the lock turn. Lily pushed the door open with her fingertips and shuffled in sideways like a crab, laden with shopping bags. Lucas closed his book and went to help her. Geez, it looked like she was moving in. Though she still didn't spend the night, she was spending more and more time at his place. He suspected she knew he wasn't quite used to living alone. Most recent college grads had roommates, partly for financial reasons and partly because they weren't ready for solitude. After 3 years of living in a dorm with a bunch of lovable idiots, being completely on your own was a strange adjustment. Lucas was no exception. He had even considered rooming with Jason, but then he got a girlfriend, and a brother from another mother suddenly became a complication. The idea was scrapped. "What did you buy?" he asked, curious. "Why so much stuff? You should have called me to help you carry it." "I'm not that weak," Lily said, taking a deep breath. After a moment's rest, she explained, "The mall was having a big end-of-year sale, so I stocked up on things we'd need. None of it will expire." Lucas surveyed the mountain of groceries and household supplies and could only give her a silent thumbs up. He was being turned into a completely useless human being. Ever since she had started coming over for naps at lunchtime, he hadn't bought a single household item. He lived here full-time, but had no idea how much shampoo was left in the bottle. He moved aside to close the door and saw a small cat weaving around Lily's ankles. He recognized it as the one from the bushes. "It started following me as soon as it saw me," Lily explained softly. "It's been doing this for a few days. Usually it stops at the lobby door, but for some reason it didn't today." Lucas crouched down and gave the cat a gentle flick on the head. He looked it over. Animals seemed to heal faster than people. The wounds were almost completely gone. He vaguely recalled the cat following him a few times, too. It was surprisingly docile, nuzzling against his hand even after he'd flicked it. "No wonder you get bullied by other cats," he said, flicking it again. He hoped it didn't have fleas. "Could I keep it?" Lily asked, biting her lip, a little embarrassed. Lucas clapped his hands and stood up. "Why are you asking for my permission? If you want to keep it, keep it." He went to the bathroom to wash his hands, then returned. "But if you're going to, you should keep it here. It'll be less of a hassle for your mom." When he turned back, Lily was twisting her fingers, her head bowed. "You can't just spoil your girlfriend like this," she mumbled. His willingness to give her anything she wanted always left her feeling a little flustered. He was too good to her. The thought that she wasn't some wealthy heiress, that she had nothing he could possibly want from her, made her feel even more like she didn't deserve him. "Oh, right. He just seemed to be pretty into my body." Lucas couldn't help but chuckle. "Anyone who knows you knows you're my girlfriend. Anyone who doesn't would think you're some relationship expert trying to convince me to break up with you." A little while later, Lily was in the bathroom, giving the cat a bath. Lucas sat down at his computer to check on her art account. He wasn't sure how much the convention appearance had helped, but her follower count had swelled to over 50,000. With that many followers, she should probably start accounts on other platforms, like Twitter and TikTok. But that wasn't her job. She just needed to focus on her art. He'd deal with it when he had time. He put the thought aside and admired his girlfriend's latest work. At some point, Lily had snuck up behind him, wrapping her arms around his torso and resting her chin on his shoulder. "What happens when I get old?" she whispered. "You get old. What's supposed to happen?" Lucas said, his eyes on the screen. He saw a new drawing of Yukino Shida and pursed his lips. He should have sold this one to Jason. He could have gotten a fortune out of him. Lily's mind wasn't on the art. Her voice trembled slightly. "I won't be pretty anymore. How will I ever deserve you being so good to me?" She could tell Lucas wasn't a huge cat person. He always washed his hands after touching it. But he was indulging her purely because it made her happy. Because she liked it, he liked it. Lucas froze. He set the mouse down, took her hands, and pulled her onto his lap. "When you're 10 years older, I'll be 10 years older. The world will be 10 years older. Even God will be 10 years older. We're all in it together, so don't be afraid of getting old." He looked her in the eye. "And I'm good to you because you love me, not because you're beautiful. Right now, you're my girlfriend. Someday, you'll be my wife. Being good to you is just what I do. There's no deserving it." It was usually him burying his face in her neck, but now it was her turn. He felt a dampness on his skin. "Lucas, I want to marry you," she said, her voice muffled. "Can you marry me soon?" "What girl talks like that?" he said, trying not to laugh. Was this some kind of self-sabotaging damsel? What happened to playing it cool? "I don't care," Lily mumbled, hugging him tighter. Even her rare moments of stubbornness were adorable. Okay, Lucas whispered, inhaling her scent from the crook of her neck. "It's all your fault for being born so late. Otherwise, I would have taken you to the courthouse the day you told me you loved me." Lily's eyes were red-rimmed as she leaned in and kissed his forehead. "I love you," she said earnestly. Lucas's smile nearly split his face. Her saying "I love you" right now was basically the same as saying, "Take me to the courthouse right now." It's no use saying it now. "Wait until your birthday next year." "Okay," she said, wiping her tears before heading back to the bathroom to finish bathing the cat. As Lucas watched her go, a direct message popped up in the corner of her art account. "Bro, I'm just a student. Can you draw me something for free?" Lucas's eyebrow twitched. He placed his hands on the keyboard. First off, the artist is a she. Second, get a job. Whoever this was couldn't even get her gender right. They were clearly just spamming artists, casting a wide net to see if they could find a sucker with a soft heart. After sending the reply, Lucas walked into the bathroom and picked up the little gray cat. "I'm not done washing her," Lily said. "She doesn't need it. I'm taking her to the pet clinic for a checkup first," Lucas said, lifting the cat to eye level. Did Lily's presence somehow make it look just as goofy as she was? It hung there, completely unbothered, staring back at him with a vacant, almost stupid expression. He grinned. "We need to check for any illnesses and get all her shots. It's better for everyone. When I was little, I saw people just take cats home and wash them." Lily had never considered getting a cat before, so she knew nothing about it. "Times have changed," Lucas said softly. "Just because most people did something a certain way back then doesn't mean it was right. Every generation had its own brand of ignorance. Blindly following old customs was a mistake." He carried the cat toward the door, talking to it as he went. "You're a big girl now. You're not allowed back until you've learned to use the litter box. You hear me? Meow." A little over half an hour later, Lucas returned from the veterinary clinic. "Where's the cat?" Lily asked, tilting her head. "I left her at the clinic," he said, hanging his coat up. "One of the wounds was a little infected, so I left her there. We can't treat that ourselves." He was glad he'd had the foresight to take her. Her injuries were worse than they looked. He'd also learned that she was a British Shorthair. He had basically found a purebred cat for free, but after factoring in the vet bills, vaccinations, and future food costs, he wasn't sure if he'd come out ahead. He brought a box over to Lily and opened it. Inside was an automatic pet feeder. "Look how cool this is," he said, fiddling with it like a kid with a new toy. It dispenses food automatically at set times. So if we're ever busy or go on a trip, we won't need someone to look after her. See? You can set the schedule and portion size from your phone. Lily ran her hand over the sleek white device, which looked vaguely like a high-tech trash can. A look of confusion crossed her face. "I don't think I'll be going anywhere. And even if you're busy at the studio, I'll be here every day after class. I have plenty of time." "But it feeds her automatically." Lucas trailed off, realizing how dumb he sounded. But this kind of gimmick was just so cool. What guy could resist a product with the word smart in its name? Who didn't want to be Tony Stark? Lily couldn't help but smile. Her boyfriend could be so childish sometimes. She was used to it. It was actually kind of cute. "What else do we need to buy?" she asked softly. As frugal as she was, She didn't criticize him for paying the stupid tax. As long as Lucas was happy, that was enough. I already ordered litter, a basin, shampoo, and all that other stuff from the pet store, he said. The cat's pretty well behaved, so I don't think we need cage. A cat bed should be fine. He paused. I didn't buy a bed, though. You can pick one you think is cute. Lily nodded, making a mental note. They felt like expectant parents, buying everything they could possibly need, and a few things they couldn't before the baby had even arrived. They hadn't named the cat yet. Lucas had said he needed to see her in person to feel inspired, and Lily agreed. Not that it stopped either of them from secretly brainstorming names for their future children. Lily still looked a little sheepish. I have no experience with cats, and I just dragged you into getting one. What experience do you need? We'll figure out as we go, Lucas said breezily, treating it as just another way to make his goofy girl happy. She's not a newborn kitten, and we're both reasonably intelligent. We're not going to mess this up. I guess not. I raised a sparrow once when I was little, Lily said slowly, lost in the memory. I think it fell out of its nest. It didn't have any feathers when I found it. Every time I ate, I'd share some of my oatmeal with it. I can't believe I actually managed to raise it. And then what? It flew away as soon as it could, she said, her expression turning sad. It didn't even say goodbye, and it never came back to visit. Lucas chuckled at her phrasing. Maybe it did come back to see you, he comforted her. It probably flew over your head, but you were too busy to notice. Even if you did, you might not have recognized it. After all, he'd visited her at a part-time job so many times, but she was always so focused on her work that she never once saw him. He squeezed her cheek. Actually, I have experience with animals too. Emma had a rabbit a couple of years ago, and I helped take care of it. I didn't see a rabbit when I visited your house. Lily found that odd. Rabbits lived longer than that. She ate it, Lucas said, his face a mask of stone. He never would have guessed that Emma hadn't intended to keep it as a pet from the very beginning. She'd been raising it for food. Home-raised, she'd said. Safer to eat. That night, at the dinner table, the whole family had enjoyed the meal. Everyone except for him, the only one who had gotten emotionally attached. Lily shuddered. The story was horrifyingly in character for Emma. Lily was a woman of action. She was soon back at her computer, engrossed in videos about how to care for a cat. Lucas, meanwhile, had sunk into a beanbag chair and was getting lost in foundation when he heard Lily's frantic voice. Lucas, what do I do? People are having a full-on conversation in my comment section. Curious, he went over to look. It was true. Every time she refreshed the page, new comments appeared. OMG, Lillipad has to be gorgeous, right? I can tell just from her eyes. I get that feeling too. Seriously, she has such an amazing vibe. She must be stunning. For real? Pics, or it didn't happen? It's true, but that rando with her wouldn't let anyone take photos. Lucas's mouth twitched. I'll do. If the convention had done one thing for Lily's brand, it was to cement her reputation as the shy, mysterious artist. It was a persona that hit all the right notes for the anime crowd, and her follower count was climbing faster every day. The topic has gone completely off the rails, Lily fretted. These new followers were more interested in her than her art. Don't worry about it, Lucas said. You're not selling your looks, and you don't show your face. Their attention will eventually shift back to your art. I think you could really make a living off this. He conveniently ignored the fact that her major was accounting. But that didn't matter. How many people actually ended up in careers related to their degree? He was a law student who'd ended up making video games. His words were like a balm, instantly soothing her anxiety. She laced her fingers together, stretched her arms high above her head, and arched her back. The movement pulled her shirt up, revealing a sliver of smooth, pale skin. I'll be happy if I can just make more than I did at my part-time jobs, she said, holding the stretch until she felt a satisfying pop in her spine. It took Lucas a moment to regain his composure. He cleared his throat. That's not good enough. As long as it's something you have a real shot at, you should aim as high as you possibly can. What? Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars, he said, taking the opportunity to run his hands along her waist. You can't go too easy on yourself, though I know you're just not very confident. The sudden touch made Lily jump. She shot him a blushing, reproachful look. Lucas, fighting a pang of guilt, held her gaze with a cool, impassive expression. Just as he'd expected, her mock anger instantly evaporated. She quickly looked away, her head bowed in defeat. Lucas, I wasn't bullying you, she mumbled, the picture of wronged innocence. Why are you looking at me like that? I haven't used that move in ages. How is it still so effective on you? He said smugly, leaning in to steal a kiss before heading to the kitchen. A few moments later, as Lily was busy drawing a silly caricature of him, Lucas reappeared. She looked up and was startled to see his eyes were red-rimmed, as if he were about to cry. She rushed over and cupped his face in her hands. "What's wrong?" "I feel so wronged," he sniffled. "Can I just touch your leg?" "Yes, yes, of course," she said, her voice filled with panic. "But first, just tell me what happened." A wicked grin suddenly spread across his face. "If I can fool you, I can definitely fool the entire internet." He handed her his phone. "Here, record this for me." The next morning at Montgomery Holdings, we hit the top of the iOS sales charts yesterday. Across both platforms, our subsidiary's new game broke $10 million in revenue on its first day. A sharp-looking young man reported respectfully from in front of the desk. Seated comfortably before him was William Montgomery, the portly chairman of Montgomery Holdings. "Not bad," William said with a smug smile. "When it comes to the entertainment industry, you young people really do have a better eye for things. Get ready. You'll be taking over David Lee's position at the end of the year." "I heard the founder of Polaris Interactive has to call you uncle," the young man asked, unable to hide the grin on his face. In this day and age, traffic was king. Their game had launched first and captured the entire user base. Polaris, which had invested just as heavily, would be left fighting for scraps. For a game company, especially a startup, such a massive loss on their initial investment was a fatal blow. They could easily go under. He was fleecing his own nephew. It was ruthless. With two nearly identical games, one was soaring while the other was dead on arrival. "His life or death has nothing to do with me," Williams said dismissively, stubbing out his cigarette in the ashtray. "Consider it a free lesson for these young upstarts. Business is a dog-eat-dog world. If you don't have what it takes, you deserve to get screwed over and take the loss in silence." The young man was stunned. He'd never heard someone describe picking on the weak in such a refreshingly shameless way. The phone rang. He heard William answer with a suggestive, "Hey, Lisa." Realizing it wasn't his boss's wife, the man was about to excuse himself when William's secretary walked in. "Mr. Montgomery." "Spit it out," William snapped. The secretary hesitated before opening a video on her phone and sliding it across the desk. On the screen, a handsome, clean-cut young man with red-rimmed eyes spoke to the camera. "Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas Carter, the founder of Polaris Interactive. Starting today, our company, in partnership with Titan Gaming, will be taking legal action against Montgomery Holdings for multiple infringements, including the theft of our company's internal data." He then proceeded to lay out the entire story, his dream, the innocence and despair he felt after being targeted, and his unwavering resolve to fight to the end. The video was only 5 or 6 minutes long. When it finished, the room was silent. William's face was impassive, but the young man's heart had been on a roller coaster. He knew why Lucas had posted the video online before taking any real legal action. Playing the victim was useless in the cutthroat world of business. The old guard were vultures who would strip you to the bone the second you fell. But online, it was the exact opposite. People on the internet loved to rally behind an underdog. Whether out of sense of justice or just to vent their own frustrations, they would flock to a cause. And what were Lucas's online credentials? A University of Washington student, a self-made business prodigy in his early 20s, a rising star in the domestic game industry. Thanks to the halo effect, players of Tower of Ascension already had a high opinion of him. The game was so popular that a huge portion of young people online already knew who he was. Most importantly, he was a college student just entering the real world, a peer to the internet's primary user base. All of this, combined with his teary-eyed video, made him the perfect sympathetic figure. A college student getting screwed over right as he was about to make his mark? It was an incredibly relatable story. It was the kind of thing that sparked public outrage, because nearly everyone had been kicked around a bit right after graduation. "How bad is the fallout?" William finally asked, his voice cold. The secretary swallowed hard. The video was posted late last night. It's already trending on both Twitter and TikTok. Seeing that her boss remained silent, she dared to continue. "An illegal notice from their lawyers just arrived. It looks like he's really teaming up with Titan Gaming to come after us," the young man muttered. He bit back the thought. Our legal department is no match for theirs. He was only just now remembering that Lucas had the entire UW Law School and all the connections that came with it in his corner. And crucially, all the traffic their game was enjoying was now just free advertising for their rival's cause. He swallowed nervously. This kid was far more dangerous than he had imagined. The next second, the sound of a shattering teacup echoed through the office, followed by William Montgomery's roar. "This isn't San Jose." Early the next morning, Lucas returned home. He wouldn't dare ignore a summons from his mother. It had been years since she'd last laid a hand on him, but some memories were etched into your very bones. Anyone who'd ever been on the receiving end of a leather belt would never feel nostalgic about it. He cheerfully opened the door to find the entire family sitting on the sofa, looking like they were holding a crisis meeting. Emily was staring at him with a grave expression. Robert was sipping his tea, his face unreadable. Emma was the only one who seemed normal, lounging on the sofa with her legs crossed, a textbook in her lap. She glanced up at him and gave him a mischievous smirk. That smirk was more terrifying than anything. He lingered in the entryway, slowly changing his shoes, trying to delay the inevitable. Did Lily rat me out? He wondered. No way. I might have been a bit of a beast lately, but she'd never do that. He cautiously approached the coffee table, his eyes fixed on his mother. Come here, Emily said, patting the spot next to her. Lucas took 2 hesitant steps forward, but didn't sit. Sit, you got it. Steeling himself, he sat down beside her. Mom, you told me to come home for New Year's, and here I am, bright and early. Can we just talk this out? His plea died in his throat when he saw that her eyes were red. If the company is making you this unhappy, then just quit, she said, her voice thick with emotion. We might not be as rich as the Montgomerys, but we're not struggling. How could you go through something so awful and not tell us? Do you think your father and I are that useless? Wait a second, Lucas said, confused. I never said I was unhappy. Emily held up her phone. You're still trying to hide it? This is all over the internet. Wow, that was fast, Lucas murmured. What was fast? It was an act, he said, pointing to his eyes. I use an onion. It stung like hell. He explained calmly. It's a marketing tactic. They use shady methods to delay our launch. So, I'm just borrowing their publicity to promote my own game. Is that so wrong? I don't even care about winning the lawsuit. I've handed it all over to Titan Gaming's lawyers. All I want is the buzz. Look, I didn't spend a dime, and I'm trending. You can't get better advertising than that. Emily stared at him, dumbfounded. The faint trace of worry on Robert's face had completely vanished. I told you he was faking it. Emma chimed in from the couch. You never listen. You should be more worried about him bullying other people. She'd seen Lucas's acting skills firsthand with Lily. She was immune to his theatrics. Exactly, Lucas agreed. Mom, did you make breakfast? I'm starving. All you do is ask me to cook for you. How have you not starved to death living on your own? Emily grumbled, but she still got up and headed toward the kitchen. Lucas shrugged. Because my wifey cooks for me. She's not your wife until you put a ring on it. You're as shameless as your father was. Emma, come help. Soon, it was just father and son in the living room. Like fathers and sons everywhere, the atmosphere instantly became quiet and a little awkward. It's been exhausting, hasn't it? Robert asked. Lucas let out a long breath and nodded. From the initial project proposal to overcoming technical hurdles, from flying to San Jose to negotiate partnerships to dealing with a rival poaching his staff, the last few months have been a relentless grind. Saying he wasn't tired would be a lie. Robert blew on his tea and took a sip. You've changed so much this year, he said with a smile. It feels like just yesterday you were still a kid. Do I seem like a grown-up now? Lucas asked, a hopeful glint in his eyes. Robert slowly set his teacup down and gave his son a knowing smile. Now, you seem like a kid who's trying desperately to grow up for the person he loves. Breakfast was a simple affair. Brenda at my office, her kid is fighting with his wife every day now, Emily said, making casual conversation. Her son makes less than 6 figures, but his wife doesn't work and spends all day shopping online. They never have any money left at the end of the month. Some girls these days, I just don't know. Lucas swallowed his bagel. See how great your son is? Your daughter-in-law would never do that. His mother would never guess that Lily was still plotting to be a sugar mama. You little punk, you came back just to show off your girlfriend, didn't you? Emily shot him a look, but then her expression softened. It was true. You couldn't find a better daughter-in-law than Lily. So, what are you waiting for? Marry her already. Lucas quickly ducked his head and focused on his food, pretending he hadn't heard a thing. That was a decision for Lily to make. He wasn't about to unleash his mother's nagging prematurely. All those people who felt sorry for you would be furious if they saw you gloating like this, Emily said, poking him on the forehead. Anyone who knows you were the one getting bullied. Anyone who doesn't would think you were the bully. Fighting back is the right thing to do. He's not a good person, Robert said suddenly. Emily paused. You think Lucas isn't a good person? I was talking about William Montgomery, Robert said, giving his wife an exasperated look. She was aging like a movie star, all her skill points apparently allocated to beauty, with none left for common sense. Their marriage has probably been over for years. How long has it been since his ex-wife came back from Europe? That poor woman. Her marriage has always been so unhappy, Emily said, trusting her husband's judgment completely. I guess she's accepted it. She'll probably just focus on her daughter from now on. What's so pitiful about it? She made her own choices. Uncle William worked so hard to provide for his family. I'd be thrilled with a husband like that, Emma grumbled, sipping her juice. Emily promptly smacked her on the back of the head, nearly making her spit it out. William Montgomery had always been good to her, so naturally, she took his side. You can't look at it that way, Robert said reasonably. You can never really know what's in someone's heart. It's not that easy to see a person's true nature. I knew you were a good person the moment I saw you, Emily said, lifting her chin proudly. Robert smiled and handed a napkin to the coughing Emma. That just means you're smarter than most. Lucas had no interest in watching his parents flirt. He pulled out his phone and started texting Lily. Lucas, what are you up to? Miss me? A gif of a cute piglet asking for a Hugh didn't care that it had only been one night. Lily, just finished cleaning. Watching TV now. I miss you. Lucas, when I send a gif like that and you don't send one back, it makes me look really cringe. You know that, right? Like I'm harassing you. Lily, but I think those gifs are so embarrassing. Lucas, you know how to draw, don't you? Just draw some that you don't think are embarrassing. Lily, you're so smart. Unlike the laid-back chaos at the Carter house, Lily and Sophia were early risers. They had already finished breakfast and tidied up. Now, they were sitting on the sofa watching TV, the atmosphere much quieter. After a few more texts, Lily put her phone away. Content. She sat down in front of a full-length mirror to brush her hair, then turned to Sophia. Mom, can you do it for me? You're almost old enough to get married, and you still want your mom to brush your hair? Sophia teased, but she happily took the brush. Lily's hair was incredible, a silky waterfall cascading down her back. It was so long. When did your hair get so long? Sophia asked, surprised. She realized her daughter had barely had it cut all year, only getting it thinned out a few times. Lily bit her lip, too shy to admit it was because Lucas liked it. Most girls didn't like having extremely long hair. Just keeping it waist length took incredible dedication. It was a pain to wash, took forever to dry, and you always ended up sleeping on it and yanking it painfully in the middle of the night. But none of that mattered. As long as Lucas liked it, it was worth it. Watching her mother in the mirror, carefully and gently brushing her hair, she couldn't help but smile. What's so funny? You look like a silly little girl. It was probably Lucas again. The girl even smiled when she said his name in her sleep. Mom, it's been almost 10 years since you last brushed my hair, Lily said, her nose tingling. A bittersweet smile played on her lips. Sophia froze. The brush stopped mid-stroke, the world pausing like a movie on hold. It was a long moment before she came back to herself. Realizing her daughter could see her reflection, she forced back her tears. It really has been a long time, Sophia murmured. From now on, I'll brush it for you every day. In the early years, Lily had still been small, but Sophia hadn't recovered from the shock of her accident. Later, by the time she was ready, her daughter was already taller than her in her wheelchair. But it's such a hassle. So what if it's a hassle? Sophia continued the gentle strokes. This is my job now, and when you get married, you can have Lucas do it. Lily giggled. He probably wouldn't like long hair anymore then. It wasn't that she thought he'd mind the trouble, but she was sure that after a few attempts at managing it, he wouldn't want her to go through the ordeal every day. Sometimes his thought process was a complete mystery, but other times he was incredibly easy to read. Sophia smiled and poked Lily's head. Her silly daughter had not only revealed why she was growing her hair out, but had also unconsciously assumed she would marry Lucas. She had never seen a cabbage so eager to be harvested. Somewhere along the way, the smile of a girl her age had started to appear on Lily's face. And somewhere along the way, the conversations between mother and daughter had become a little brighter. Their life, once stalled, was like a rusty machine that had been set in motion by a single turning gear, changing everything. And, slowly, everything was getting better. After breakfast, Lucas was about to go torment his sister about her upcoming finals when Jason called. The message was brief. I'm downstairs. Get down here. Lucas threw on a down jacket and ran outside. Jason was waiting by the entrance, his neck hunched against the cold, stomping his feet to stay warm. What are you doing here? Is something wrong at the studio? Lucas asked. The studio's fine. I'm not. Lucas let out a breath of relief. Good. You son of a bitch. Jason's blood pressure spiked. It was like the guy would shrivel up and die if he didn't mess with him at least once a day. Isn't it cold out here? Let's go up. Lucas gestured toward the door. I didn't bring anything. I can't go up empty-handed. Like you've ever brought anything before. We were students then. We're working now. It's different. Jason reached for a cigarette, but the cold wind bit at his hand, and he shoved it back in his pocket. He pointed to his car. Let's talk in there. Inside the car, Lucas adjusted the vents, aiming the nauseatingly warm air away from his face. So what's up? I'm about to meet her parents, and I'm freaking out. I need some advice. How'd it go with you and yours? Jason confessed. He'd been so nervous that, in a moment of weakness, he just started driving to Lucas's house. Our situations are different. I tricked Lily into coming to my house before we were even officially together, Lucas said. Seeing his friend's tormented expression, he suddenly understood what his dad meant about being a kid, trying desperately to grow up. Maybe all it took for a boy to become a man was a little responsibility. The truth was, neither of them was ready for any of this. But life was a wave that was already crashing down, and it didn't give you a chance to breathe. They were both determined to swim against the current, and it was only natural to feel a little lost. Jason had been a heavy smoker since freshman year. He lit a cigarette, cracked the window, and exhaled a plume of smoke. Look, no matter what they say, I'm going to marry her, but I'd still really like for them to approve. He tapped the ash off his cigarette without taking a puff. Otherwise, we can't even have a proper wedding. He looked at Lucas. You have to help me. How can I help you? Lucas was baffled. What am I supposed to do? Go with you and be your hype man. Jason shook his head. I don't know. Ever since college, it's just become a habit to ask for your opinion when I'm not sure about something. He figured he already knew what Lucas would say. He just needed to hear it for reassurance. Lucas's mouth twitched. Anyone would give you the same advice. Her dad's not going to be happy. You just have to suck it up. Let me rephrase. If your parents were dead set against you marrying Lily, what would you do? It's my wedding, not theirs. Got it. Jason let out a long breath. All right, this is for you. From Vanessa, for Lily. He reached into the back seat and pulled out a large, fancy-looking red box that probably contained a high-end makeup set. From Vanessa? For Lily. Lucas repeated slowly, drawing out each word. And you're giving to me? How do those two things connect? You know her. She's a total tsundere, Jason said with a chuckle. She feels weird getting too close to Lily because she's Scarlett's best friend. Her mom's a personal shopper, so this set didn't cost her much. Just tell your girlfriend to use it. He laughed again. Your girlfriend really has a way of winning people over. I never thought my own girl would fall for her charms. I know, right? I feel like she's staging a quiet coup at the studio. I swear, if she decided to lead a rebellion against us, the entire team would follow her in a heartbeat. Lucas joined in the laughter, drawing a finger across his neck. She'd just have to smash a cup on the floor, and a bunch of assassins would rush out and take us both out on the spot. As the boss's girlfriend, Lily spent her time at the studio, either helping clean up or getting drinks for the employees. The contrast with him, the lazy-ass boss who spent half his day messing around at his office, was stark. She was always so gentle when she spoke to the staff. She was basically the Liu Bei of their operation, a paragon of kindness. Who wouldn't be willing to die for her? After chatting for another half an hour, Lucas shivered his way back home, only then realizing he was still wearing his pajama pants. Sometimes, people didn't need advice. They just needed someone to talk to. With nothing else to do, he joined his parents on the couch to watch an old historical drama, and before he knew it, it was noon. He was stretching when his phone buzzed. Lily, Lucas, I can't sleep. Do you want to come over and keep me company? Lucas, are you trying to make yourself a widow before we're even married? Do you want me to die? Lily, Mom's going out for a walk soon. She won't be back for a while. Lucas glanced guiltily at his parents. Lucas, if we get caught, forget your mom. My mom will kill me. I'll go to my room later and call you. I'll stay on the line while you sleep. Lily, what if I wear the white stockings? You've seen the black ones, but not the white ones. Lucas, on my way. The stockings were completely irrelevant. He was just concerned about his girlfriend's quality of sleep. Lucas had never changed clothes so fast in his life. In a blink, he was back at the front door. Didn't you just go out? Where are you going now? Emily asked. Lily said their stove is broken. I'm gonna go take a look. The door slammed shut behind him. His parents exchanged a look. Do you know how to fix a stove? Emily asked Robert. Robert shook his head. No. Do you? I don't either. That boy is getting so lazy he can't even be bothered to come up with a believable excuse. On the way over, Lucas had a thought. He was supposed to be the one playing the long game, slowly boiling the frog. How had he ended up being the one so thoroughly manipulated? Lily might be a goofball, but she wasn't dumb. Now that she had more free time, she was starting to figure out his user manual. As a wise man once said, things that can be changed are flaws. Things that can't are weaknesses. Lily using herself as bait was a trap he would walk into every single time. It was clearly his weakness. Of course, he had no intention of changing. In fact, he hoped she'd use that trick on him more often. He arrived at Maple Creek Estates and let out a lazy yawn. Napping together every afternoon had ruined him. He couldn't sleep properly without her now. He just hadn't expected her to have it even worse. She apparently couldn't nap at all without him, and yet she was still too stubborn to just move in with him. He scanned his surroundings like a thief, then dialed her number. I forgot my key card. Can you buzz me up? He whispered. Wait. Don't come up yet, she hissed back. From the sound of her breathing, he could tell she was pressing the phone to her face, her hand cupped over her mouth. You have to hide somewhere. My mom hasn't left yet. Lucas was speechless. Lily, you realize this makes us sound like total creeps, right? How had she managed to turn an innocent afternoon nap into something so sordid? Don't say that. We're just taking a nap together. It's completely platonic. Lucas froze. Oh, hell no. Are you seriously using my own lines against me now? A completely platonic couple. Lucas muttered the phrase to himself and laughed. He couldn't exactly walk up to Sophia and say, Hi, Mrs. Thompson. I'm here to take a nap with your daughter. The destructive power of that statement was on par with asking a biker if his Harley was safe parked outside. So, he did as Lily said and found a corner to wade in. He stood there, watching people pass by. Some of them gave him curious looks. Damn it, I really do look like a thief. Just as he was about to find a new hiding spot, his phone rang. It was Leo. Lucas Scythe. Ever since starting the company, the number of calls he had to take had skyrocketed. Hey, Lucas. Someone from Titan Gaming's legal team is here. I know, Lucas said, idly flicking a leaf on a nearby bush. Don't bother working overtime for the next few days. Just take their legal team out. Go wherever you want. Dinner, karaoke, I don't care. I'll cover the expenses. Pay close attention to how they operate. We'll need that knowledge down the road. Lucas, Leo asked, did you hand this whole thing over to Titan because you were planning this from the start? It's not polite to guess your boss's intentions, Lucas joked. You don't think Montgomery Holdings will pull some strings to cause trouble? I certainly hope they do, Lucas said truthfully. When it came to legal and political connections in Seattle, few could compete with him and Jason. He didn't like to use those connections proactively, but a defensive counterattack was a different story. One was giving a kid an unfair advantage. The other was executing justice. No one could complain about the latter. In this arena, everyone had to play fair. Is a marketing campaign ready to go? All set. The ad fees have already been paid, Leo said with a laugh. Soon, when people watch your trending video, our game's ad will probably be playing right below it. Launch it now. Don't let all this heat go to waste. Got it. The sound of typing stopped. By the way, Lucas, what are you up to? The first part of the conversation was business. This was just a friend asking. Me? I'm raiding my neighbor's farm, Lucas said with a grin, peeking out from his hiding spot like a spy. If the security guard was watching the cameras, he'd definitely think he was casing the joint. Just then, he saw Sophia emerge from the building, smiling as she declined a neighbor's offer to help. She was walking slowly, with great difficulty. If he weren't on a mission, he would have rushed over to help her. Gotta go, he said, hanging up. On the other end, Leo blinked confused. Raiding a farm? People still play Farmville? He nodded decisively. A brilliant mind like Lucas must have his reasons. He had to figure it out. Who here has a high-level Farmville account? Let me borrow it, he shouted to the programmers working overtime. Leo would never have guessed that Lucas's version of raiding the farm was far more thrilling than the game. Once Sophia was out of sight, Lucas slipped inside and took the elevator up. He knocked twice, and the door immediately swung open. A slender arm reached out and pulled him inside. Clearly, his silly little cabbage had been waiting for him. He couldn't help but smile when he saw the white stockings peeking out from under her skirt. Lily's defenses were made of paper. She shifted uncomfortably under his gaze, blushing as she tugged her skirt down. I'm mainly just worried about you not getting enough sleep. It's not because I'm a pervert, you know, Lucas said, steering her toward the bedroom. Oh, Lily replied blankly. Lucas paused, leaning in to get a better look at the dark circles under her eyes. You really didn't sleep well last night, did you? He said with a soft laugh. You're hopeless. I know I'm hopeless, she stammered, looking down at the floor. A person with any self-respect wouldn't go to such lengths just to coax her boyfriend over for a nap. Seeing that he hadn't taken off his shoes, she tilted her head in confusion. She wouldn't nag him about it, but she was curious. Lucas saw her expression. See? This is why you're a goofball. Remember when you stayed at my place and forgot to hide your shoes? Are we really going to make the same mistake twice? He said, gently closing the bedroom door. I was just lucky my mom didn't catch us. As he said it, the tension in his own chest eased. They were both repeat offenders, after all. He still had no idea that he had only narrowly escaped that day by leaving 2 minutes early. The click of the door closing made Lily's heart flutter. She backed away until she was sitting on the edge of the bed, realizing she had nowhere left to run. The adrenaline that had fueled her earlier had been replaced by a wave of nervousness. She had just served herself up on a silver platter. Lucas thought for a moment and locked the door. A mature person learns from their mistakes. He finally took a moment to look around. The room was even more minimalist than his, almost sparse. Her desk was piled high with textbooks, but otherwise bare. The bed was made with a simple green and white duvet set, perfectly smooth without a single wrinkle. "When will your mom be back?" he asked, sitting down beside her. "She's usually out for 2 hours when she goes for a walk," the girl began, then froze. "Lily, are you an idiot?" She mentally screamed at herself, her head drooping in shame. She didn't have to look to know what expression was on Lucas's face. "But sometimes she comes back early if it's cold," she added in a small voice, trying to backtrack. "It's fine. We're a completely platonic couple, remember? What's there to be afraid of?" Lucas teased, throwing her own words back at her. Lily clasped her hands in her lap and gave a barely perceptible nod. Before she could say another word, she let out a small yelp as Lucas scooped her up and laid her on the bed. He slowly lifted the hem of her skirt and pulled her long, elegant legs into his lap. Lily sank into the soft duvet, her hair fanning out around her as she turned her face away, too embarrassed to look at him. It was only in that moment that he truly understood why some people on the internet called white stockings creamsicles. He had severely underestimated their creativity. "Don't squeeze my feet. It tickles." "Oh, right. Sorry." Lucas shifted his focus back to her legs. "They said white stockings made you look heavier, but that rule didn't seem to apply to Lily. Her legs were still perfectly slender, but now they had an air of innocence and purity that was completely different from when she wore black. He had already accepted he was a foot guy. Now he was discovering he was a white stockings guy, too. Having made this realization, he tossed his conscience aside and thoroughly enjoyed himself. He noticed Lily cover her mouth with her hand to stifle a yawn. "You know," he suggested, "since you can't sleep without me anyway, why don't you just move in with me?" "I can't. It's too soon," Lily mumbled. That was a step that not even the completely platonic excuse could cover. If she tried to use that line then, she wouldn't just be fooling others. She wouldn't even be able to fool herself. Lily wasn't Lucas. She couldn't come up with a mind-bending justification like, "We're just roommates who happen to be dating." "When wouldn't it be too soon?" Lucas asked, curious. He hadn't expected her to agree. He was just teasing. Lily blinked her clear, beautiful eyes and whispered tentatively, "After we're married?" Lucas didn't respond, just watched her with a calm expression. Lily grew nervous. She poked his waist. "I'll be a junior next year. After that, I'll have my internship. If you still think that's too soon, we can wait until we're officially engaged." She was completely unaware of how quickly her standards were dropping. Lucas remained silent. "Then, after my mom is fully recovered." Her voice was trembling now, her resolve completely crumbling. Lucas wanted to see how much further she would bend, but he couldn't hold back his laughter any longer. He'd never met anyone who made it so easy. In response, Lily playfully headbutted him, sending him rolling on the bed in mock agony. As goofy as she was, even she could tell from his laughter that he'd been faking it the whole time. But the words were out, and there was no taking them back. Lucas would definitely use this contract to lure her over to his place later. Why does he always have to trick me? She was annoyed, but seeing him howl, she started to feel a little guilty. She leaned over to apologize, not caring if he was still faking, and started rubbing his chest. Lucas, who was already feeling drowsy, closed his eyes and relaxed into her touch. A lap pillow on top of white stockings. This was heaven. He felt a tickle on his cheek and realized she was leaning over, looking at him. "New Year's is almost here," she said after a while. The holiday break was just around the corner. Should we spend New Year's Eve together?" she finally managed to ask in a tiny voice. She was still just a 19-year-old girl in her first relationship. Of course she was drawn to things like this. 99% of couples spent New Year's Eve together. People in love were silly like that, obsessed with creating meaningful memories. When you fell for someone, you wanted to re-experience everything with them, turning every beautiful moment into a shared memory. Feeling the same evening breeze, watching the same sunset you always watched when you were sad. Even the moon, which had always been a solitary comfort, took on a different meaning when you looked at it with the person you loved. Lucas yawned and nodded. With his eyes closed, he had no idea how many times she had opened and closed her mouth before finally getting the words out. "We could spend New Year's Day together, too," he said lazily. "Okay." Lily's mind raced. That meant they could celebrate twice. It felt like a great deal. A couple of seconds later, the possibilities hit Lucas. He shot up, startling her. "What's the point of New Year's call? If we're going to celebrate, let's really do it together." "Have you already figured out how to trick me into it?" she asked softly. Lucas's smile widened. "Are you waiting for me to give you an excuse?" "Of course not. I'm too dumb for that," she said, tilting her head and blinking at him innocently. He chuckled. Remembering his mission, he patted the pillow beside him. "Come on, let's sleep. I still have to get back after I get you to sleep." Lily's expression fell, but she nodded. I'll close the curtains. She knew he didn't like the sun. The window was right next to the bed. She knelt on the mattress and crawled over, her skirt swaying with each movement. The blackout curtains worked well. The bright room was instantly plunged into a cozy darkness. She snuggled up beside him, yawning but showing no intention of sleeping. She pulled out her phone and opened Bilibili. I'm watching that anime Aaron likes so much, she whispered. It wasn't enough to just know how to draw the characters. She needed to understand their personalities to do them justice. Fate. Lily hummed in agreement. I don't want to sleep yet. Watch an episode with me. She felt extra clingy today, knowing that with the New Year's holiday, he wouldn't be at his apartment, and they wouldn't see each other as much. What if I get caught? Lucas refused immediately. Lily didn't know how to persuade him. She just lifted her left leg and draped it gently over his. Lucas cleared his throat. Pretend I didn't say anything. She claimed she wasn't tired, but he could see she was fighting to stay awake just to spend a little more time with him. Soon enough, her eyelids grew heavy, and she fell asleep nestled in his arms. On the phone, Saber was in a heated battle with Berserker. Beside him, Lily slept soundly, her body rising and falling with each gentle breath. Lucas pulled the blanket over her and held her close. Her apartment complex was new and much quieter than his. The curtains blocked out the annoying sunlight, making the afternoon feel incredibly peaceful. He glanced at the sleeping girl in his arms and felt a wave of contentment wash over him. His mission was complete, but he felt glued to the spot, unable to bring himself to move, unwilling to disturb her. Just watching her sleep brought him a sense of peace. He noticed a faint smile on her lips. All right, he thought, just a little longer. Then I'll go. Lucas was woken up by Lily's voice. The moment he realized someone was waking him, he knew he was in deep trouble. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What do we do now? Lily whispered frantically, her hair a mess and her collar slightly askew. Her cheeks were flushed, and a red line was imprinted on her left cheek from the pillow. Clearly, she had just woken up too. Lucas took a sharp breath and straightened her collar. Calm down. We're a couple, not having an affair. Thank God he had locked the door. Her current state alone would be impossible to explain. He feigned composure and glanced at his phone. It was past 3 in the afternoon. He tried to calm his racing heart, but then he heard the faint sound of a TV from the living room. How the hell were they going to get out of this? Seeing Lily clinging to his arm, completely lost and panicked, Lucas came to a firm conclusion. This girl was only brave when she was with him. Over time, the only skill she'd honed was the ability to manipulate him. When faced with anything else, she was the same old goofy, helpless girl from the beginning. She had found his kryptonite. While Lucas was lost in this profound realization, Lily suddenly pulled him back down onto the bed. What's wrong? He asked, confused. We're going to get killed anyway, she mumbled into his chest, hugging him tighter. Might as well get one last hug in before we die. Her cheek, pressed against his, was warm, either from sleep or from pure shame. Are you being serious right now? He said, flicking her forehead. When has your mom ever laid a hand on you? His goofy girl had evolved. When she didn't know what to do, she simply gave up thinking altogether. Faced with a problem, just throw in the towel, huh? You're all talk and no action, he teased, kissing her on the cheek before standing up to fix his hair. You change first. I'll figure out how to sneak out of here. Okay, but turn around first, she said, pushing him toward the wall. The idea of changing in front of him suddenly felt just as mortifying as getting caught by her mom. She was kicking herself for inviting him over, but she knew that if she could do it all over again, she'd still make the same call. We're practically an old married couple. What's there to see? We're not old, Lily mumbled, her focus always on the strangest things. Once she was sure he was only teasing, she burrowed under the covers to change. Lucas wasn't really in the mood to be a creep anyway. He had more pressing matters to deal with. Just walking out and saying hello was not an option. A quick mental role play confirmed it. This wasn't a matter of having nothing to hide. If Sophia saw them emerging from a locked room together, what was she supposed to do? If she was nice about it, it would look like she was pimping out her own daughter. If she wasn't, it would be incredibly awkward given the debt of gratitude she felt she owed him. The situation had to be avoided at all costs. He needed a way to get Sophia to leave the apartment or go back to her room. But it was mid-afternoon, the laziest part of the day. Lily quickly changed into a soft, fluffy winter pajama set. It wasn't very flattering, but it made her look even cuter. Feeling like she'd caused him more trouble, she gently pulled him to sit on the edge of the bed. She sat behind him, wrapping her arms around him tightly. I'm sorry, she whispered, her chin resting on his shoulder. Lucas had to hide a smile. He gets caught sneaking around with a girl, and she's the one apologizing. It's fine, he said gravely, pushing his conscience aside. Just remember to make it up to me later. This could still go very wrong. He needed a foolproof plan. And then he thought of someone. He pulled out his phone and quickly texted Emma, explaining the situation. The response was exactly what he expected. Emma, I'm at home studying so hard I'm about to go bald. And you're out having an affair? Lucas, it's not an affair. I was just helping your sister-in-law take a nap. Emma, bro, do you even believe that yourself? Lucas sighed. Being a gentleman was so hard. No one even believed you when you told the truth. Lucas, just get over here with your English textbook. Have Lily tutor you in the living room. Sophia will definitely go back to her room. Emma, I don't have money for an Uber. Lucas's eyebrow twitched. He knew exactly what his dear sister was after. Lucas, you know how you've been wanting to go to Hawaii after graduation? I'll pay for the whole trip. Emma, deal. It's not about Hawaii, of course. I'm just worried about your reputation. The line sounded suspiciously familiar. With the deal struck, Emma sent one last voice message before leaving. Lucas turned the volume all the way down before holding the phone to his ear. He heard Emma's voice, distorted by her effort to hold back laughter. The moment they dragged me out of the closet, I knew. You can't hide love. Lucas's face darkened, but he was in no position to argue. He mentally filed away the insult for later. Should I go out now? Lily whispered. Lucas nodded. Try to act normal. I've completely turned into a bad kid. Lily muttered, her eyes vacant. She bit her lip, gave Lucas one last look, and walked out of the room. Just as she expected, Sophia was on the sofa watching TV. When she saw Lily, the wrinkles around her eyes crinkled. Well, Sleeping Beauty, you really can sleep. She didn't press the issue or ask why the door was locked. She assumed her daughter had been on the phone with her boyfriend all afternoon. I was just tired, Lily mumbled, sitting down beside her. The TV was loud, but she couldn't hear a thing. She'd rarely lied in her life, and her heart was pounding out of her chest. There was a person hiding in her room. What has Lucas been up to lately? Tell him to come over for dinner more often, Sophia said casually, changing the channel. Lily jumped. Huh? A Lucas? What about him? Nothing. I was just asking what he's been busy with, Sophia said, confused by her daughter's strong reaction. Their new game is about to launch, so he's pretty busy, Lily said softly, swallowing hard. Sophia nodded understandingly. No wonder he hasn't been around much lately. Lily unconsciously glanced toward her bedroom door, a blush creeping up her neck. She was so flustered she was on the verge of tears. Emma, your sister-in-law is about to die. Please hurry up. Emma was efficient. Less than half an hour later, she was knocking on the door. Sophia looked at the ponytail girl with a backpack standing in her doorway. And you are? I'm Lucas's sister. Sophia took a step back. So you're Emma. You're a very pretty young lady. Hello, Mrs. Thompson. Lily, Emma said, barely managing to swallow the word sis-in-law. Hi, Lily. Lily let out a sigh of relief. If Emma had called her that in front of her mom, she would have jumped out the window on the spot. She wasn't married yet. I came to get some tutoring from Lily, Emma announced before Sophia could ask. As she has finals coming up, Lily added timidly, avoiding her mother's gaze. Sophia nodded. Lily has a desk in her room. You two can study in there. That's okay, Mrs. Thompson. We can just use the living room, Emma said with a shy smile. All right, then. I won't disturb you, Sophia said, turning off the TV. Lily, get her some fruit. This one seems a bit shy, she thought. Not much like her brother. But the genes in that family are incredible. They all take after Emily. Musing to herself, she steadied herself against the wall and slowly made her way to her bedroom. As soon as the bedroom door closed, Emma whispered, You two are really playing with fire. Lily turned away, too embarrassed to respond, but the weight in her chest had finally lifted. She quickly sent Lucas a text. A second later, the door to her room creaked open. Lucas peeked out like a thief, looked both ways, and then tiptoed into the living room. He ignored Emma's disdainful glare, pointed to the front door, and mouthed to Lily, I'm leaving. Lily nodded, waving goodbye, a hint of reluctance in her eyes. As he was leaving, Lucas shot a look at Emma. His savior from moments ago now just felt like an obstacle. Otherwise, he could have stolen a kiss before he left. Before Emma could say anything, he was gone. She was stunned by his speed. Lily, you can't let him get away with this, she said, shaking her head. He's getting way too bold, sneaking over here to take advantage of you. I was the one who asked him to come, Lily mumbled, fiddling with her hands. Emma turned to her, her mouth hanging open in shock. Lily, she said after a long moment, plopping down on the sofa beside her, let's just watch TV. But you have finals in 159 days. How do you remember that better than I do? Emma thought. She summoned her best acting skills, her eyes welling up with tears. Lily, you have no idea. The second I get home, My parents take my phone. I'm not allowed to sleep until I've studied until 11. I haven't had a good night's sleep in weeks. I think they're driving me into a depression. Please, just watch some TV with me. Don't make me study. Lily blinked. The version of Robert and Emily that Emma was describing didn't match the people she knew at all. But she had a soft spot, and after a few more pleas from Emma, her resolve crumbled. Okay, we'll study for half an hour, and then we can watch TV. Let's watch TV first, and I'll study for half an hour when I get home, Emma countered. Lily knew she was no match for Emma in an argument. She simply held up her phone, showing Emma the text Lucas had just sent. It read, "Don't let Emma's trip be a waste. Tutor her for a bit." The timestamp showed he'd sent it the second he'd walked out the door. Ugh, why do you listen to everything my brother says? Emma whined. Aren't you afraid he'll have his way with you and leave you with nothing? You should be the one in charge. Make him kneel on a keyboard if he disobeys. Because I know he'll always have my best interests at heart, Lily said, her head still bent over Emma's test paper, a happy smile playing on her lips. Emma stared at her friend's blissful expression for a long moment. Lily, she said flatly, I don't love you anymore. While Lily was tutoring Emma, Lucas headed back to the studio. With the game set to launch on New Year's Day, he could finally focus on the lawsuit. Whether it was damage control or striking while the iron was hot, the company needed a proper legal department. They didn't have to win this case, but they couldn't afford to lose badly, either. Otherwise, everyone would see them as an easy target. He had connections at the university, renowned professors whose help would make the case much easier to win. The real value of a top-tier university wasn't just in its resources, but in the network it provided. His father and Uncle William had political ties, but he didn't want to cause trouble for them. He had to handle this himself. The only question was who to approach. Lost in thought, he pushed open the glass doors to the office. He'd given everyone the day off, so it was quiet. The art team was out shopping or on dates. Only the programming team was still there, hunched over their keyboards. Why are there so many of you here? Lucas asked, trying to hide a smile. Don't you have girlfriends? My girlfriend is waiting for me in a gotcha pool, one of the programmers said, looking up with a dead-eyed stare. As soon as I get home, I'm rolling for her. After months of being subjected to Lucas and Lily's constant PDA, the team had developed a high tolerance. So that's why you're working overtime? Lucas chuckled, saving up to pay for your digital girlfriend. He opened the door to Jason's office and found it empty. Where's Jason? He took the guys from Titan's legal department out for dinner and karaoke. He's not back yet. All right. Lucas wasn't surprised. He and Jason had a clear division of labor. Jason handled the schmoozing he hated. He was chatting with the programmers when his faculty advisor called. It was mostly a formality. They barely knew each other. After a bit of small talk, the advisor got to the point. You've been making a lot of noise lately. The university leadership is planning a visit. You should tidy up, try to make a good impression. Which leaders? Lucas asked nonchalantly. It was probably just a courtesy visit. The vice president and the dean of the law school. Lucas nearly choked on his water. He'd just been wondering how to make a connection, and now one was being delivered to his doorstep. The heavens were smiling on him. Of course. We'll get ready immediately, he said, jumping to his feet. He clapped his hands. All right, everyone, drop what you're doing and start cleaning. Put away all your action figures and whatever other junk you have on your desks. We need to make a good impression. The programmers, well-practiced in hiding their geeky paraphernalia, worked quickly. Soon, their desks were spotless. Is this okay, Lucas? Leo asked. Lucas stroked his chin, surveying the room. Something's not right. What's not right? You don't look pathetic enough. Leo's face was a mask of confusion. Lucas pointed to the art department's empty area. Move all those computers and monitors into the other room. The fridge I bought you too. And the water cooler. Get rid of it. But it's just a visit from a university, Leo said, bewildered. Lucas slapped him on the shoulder. Are you dense? The squeaky will get the grease, my friend. A crying child gets the milk. They spent the next half an hour hauling equipment into the storage room. Soon, the only computers left were the ones they were actively using. The once thriving studio now looked cavernously empty. Still not satisfied, Lucas messed up his hair. There, he said, looking around with a satisfied grin. That's more like it. It had the distinct, beautiful look of a company on the verge of bankruptcy.